All right, what up, guys? We are live. So, me and Destiny are going to be having a very fun and probably pretty intense Israel versus Palestine debate. So, the first question that a lot of you guys might have: why the hell is a dating coach debating Israel versus Palestine? Why don't you fucking stay in your zone? So, two reasons. One, I'm actually a low key politics junkie, and I think this will be a fun discussion. But number two, I feel like with you, Destiny, you haven't really had too many good pro Palestine opponents. The only one that stands out to me from what I watched was Mark Lamont Hill. Like Norman Finkel's seen as kind of a joke. So would you agree with that statement that really you haven't, that the only guy that was even relatively good was the Palestinian journalist?
I mean, I've had some like people from my stream come on chat that's been okay, but yeah, most of the conversation's been pretty bad.
Yeah. I think the problem with this issue is that it's become so polarized. So if you don't 100% agree with Israel, you are a Hamas simp or you're anti-Semitic. If you don't 100% agree with the other side, you're pro-genocide. So it's just become really, really, I think, polarized, and there's not a lot of room for nuance. And so one thing I do appreciate, I have been following a lot of your debates on this topic, is that you do tend to be nuanced. You don't take 100% one side. Now, I do think that you are wrong about a few things, but it seems like you have nuance in your position, which I find to be pretty rare when it comes to this. How familiar are you with my position on this topic? Are you just starting from scratch? I'm assuming that's the case, or do you
I
have
have
a rough
no
idea?
idea whatsoever.
Okay, let me kind of outline it. So, I think you and I pretty much agree on almost everything, if not everything, when it comes to October 7th or pre-October 7th. So, we are going to agree on the fact that October 7th was a terrorist attack, not an act of resistance. We're going to agree that prior to October 7th, it wasn't like an open air prison. We're going to agree on the fact there's a unique issue with Palestinian citizens, which tends to be when they move to other countries, it causes violence. There's a specific issue of radicalization. So we're going to agree on a lot of things when it comes to that. What the disagreement I think is going to largely lay on is post October 7th, specifically with Israel's conduct during the war. So do you mind if I just ask you two clarifying questions? I already know the answer to these, I think, but I want the audience to kind of understand.
Yeah, go for it.
So, do you believe that Israel has committed war crimes during this war?
It's certainly possible. I don't know if I've like seen any where I'm like absolutely yes, but I mean it's definitely possible. Yeah.
What kind of evidence would you need to go from it's definitely possible to yes, it seems like that's the case?
Well, to go from it's definitely possible to yes, it seems like that's the case, or it's definitely possible to this absolutely happened.
No, because I think that's going to be very hard for me to get you there to like, yeah, this is most likely what happened. This is the most likely explanation is that there's war crimes being committed.
I mean, it depends on the war crime, but like I think an overwhelming amount of circumstantial evidence that seems really hard to explain, absent some fuck up, like something to that. But it's going to depend on the particular type of thing we're talking about.
What if you saw a video of a war crime and then you had statements from the IDF and the Israeli leadership denying it and lying about that? Would that kind of move you in that
When
direction?
you say video of a war crime, what do you mean by that?
Something that being done that's a war crime. So, for example, executing a innocent civilian.
Are you talking about like a surrendered person who's like,
Yeah, like someone who's waving a white flag or someone who's surrendered, anything along the lines of that.
I mean, the question for the determination of a war crime, the question would be is, do the soldiers have reason to believe that this person is completely surrendered and they're just killing him for no reason or because it's a civilian, or do they have another reason to believe why it's not like trustworthy, basically?
Right, but what if you saw evidence that, for example, shows you the most likely explanation is they don't have a valid reason for doing it?
It would depend on what the most likely explanation is. The problem is, let me explain the other side of this real quick. When you're talking about what a war crime is, there's a mens rea component to a war crime that requires you to be acting with a level of intentionality to kill a person without proper justification. The problem is that people think that war crime is any time a civilian is killed and that justification ends up not materializing, or any time a civilian is killed and it doesn't seem like there was a good reason to do it. It's a retrospective analysis that civilians do,
Yeah, it has to be
rather than the
deliberate.
prospective analysis that the law would call for, or what the particular war crime would call for. So, for instance, I think a really good example, I haven't super dug into this, but my understanding is there were three hostages that came out waving white flags that were shot and killed by the IDF. I didn't watch the videos of that or anything, but if it was the case that multiple Hamas members in the past had like waved white flags or had appeared to be surrendering and then either tried to suicide bomb or attack the IDF afterwards, that if they see 3 other people waving white flags and they shoot kill those people, well, tragic and horrible and maybe potentially avoidable, that wouldn't necessarily amount to a war crime because it's not like they're shooting and killing people who are surrendering with the intent of doing that. It's because they thought there was another military threat that was present in that point in time. But I don't know like what's been leaked in terms of like intelligence or what's been leaked in terms of particular circumstances. But I'm sure there are circumstances where I could look at something and I could be like, it seems really hard to explain what's happening here, where it seems hard to believe there's a compelling military reason for what's going on here. But
okay, yeah, we'll get to it when we get to it. I'll show you some videos. So the second clarifying question is: do you think Israel is doing collective punishment on the Palestinians living in Gaza?
I don't know what the international definition is. I don't know what collective punishment counts.
Yeah,
as.
I can pull it up. Actually, I have it written down.
Sure, go for it.
The definition is. So it's a war crime according to Article 3 of 1949 Geneva Convention. Collective punishment specifically means that everyone is punished for something, whether they offended or not.
I would need to see the application in law because that definition is so broad. That means that basically every single military action ever would be collective punishment. Like, is it collective punishment when Russia blows up an energy power plant in Ukraine? I don't think that would count as collective punishment. Or is it collective punishment if you blockade like an enemy's like naval fleet or something? That might also be like shipping. I don't know if that would amount to collective punishment.
So under normal wars, it would need to be deliberate. So for example, Russia and Ukraine, it would need to be deliberate. Like, hey, we were doing this as a way to punish whatever civilians. With Israel, there's a little bit of a different thing because they're considered an occupying power. So by that, they're actually the bar is set a bit lower, especially when it applies to like blocking humanitarian aid. Again, we'll get to it when we get to it. I just kind of wanted to flesh out your position on that. So yeah, I mean, like if we take the definition I gave you, let's just go off of that. Like, would that, in your opinion, that's something that you think Israel's doing or not doing, or
what you just said? There just has to be something more. Like if
I can prove intent,
possibly. I think I'd really have to see this in practice. I haven't done like specific reading on collective punishment though, so this is not like a thing that I'm like super able to dole out.
God, you motherfucker! I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Because I'm trying to think right now, because if collective punishment is what you just read, then literally every single sanction, every single tariff, almost every single military action to some extent could be collective punishment, right? Like for instance, our sanctions on Iran or our sanctions on Iraq for like Saddam Hussein and stuff, did that count as collective punishment?
I don't think it would.
Like, why not? Because you're hurting the whole society, you're hurting the whole population by doing that.
Right, but I think that actually, that's a good point. I would have to locate in like what exactly is the bar? Like, how much punishment does it need to be? Like, what if you just refuse trading with a country? Would that be collective punishment? But I think the difference there would be the fact that I don't think it's the U.S.'s intent, or at least it's not proven the U.S.'s intent is to punish civilians. I think the U.S.'s intent seems to be just like punishing the Iranian government, even though we can say that's BS because they are punishing that. There's no intent there. Versus with this thing, I'm going to show you evidence after evidence of intent. Like, hey, the goal is actually to punish the people living in Gaza for the crimes of Hamas. That would be, I think, the difference is the intent part. But okay, so let's just go through this one by one. And if you want to like stop me at any point and ask questions or whatever, you know, we can. It's not like super form or anything like that. So let's start with war crimes and specifically collective punishment. Collective punishment is a war crime. So the way that I would argue that collective punishment is taking place is through blocking humanitarian aid and doing a siege. Two separate things that are also somewhat related. So by blocking basic necessities necessary for the survival of Gaza's 2.2 million residents, nearly half of whom are children, Israel punishing all of Gaza's civilians for Hamas attacks. Now, the second thing I would need to prove is intent, right? This is just a statement. So I think that here's another little fun fact. Before the war, over 500 trucks a day of humanitarian aid were getting in. Now it's less than 100 a day. What's really interesting, though, this kind of jumped out at me when I was doing my research. Before the ICJ ruling, it was about 157 a day. And then like right after the ICJ ruling, it dropped closer to 50 a day. So it seems like even though the ICJ said like, hey, one of the things you have to do is you have to allow all the humanitarian aid did, it seems like Israel did the exact opposite and allowed less aid in. So how do we first determine the facts? How do we establish that what I'm saying is true? Well, I think that you and I agree that third-party sources are the best. We shouldn't take what Hamas says at face value. We shouldn't take what the Israel government says at face value. We need to look at reputable third-party sources. So I'll just run through some of these. UN's leading expert in right to food, Michael Farico.
Well, wait, do you want to go through any of these like one at a time, or?
Yeah, we can if you want. I was just going to run through them to kind of, because the point I'm trying to make is that this is like multiple human rights organizations that are saying this happening. If you want to go through them one at a time, that I'm totally cool with doing that.
Yeah.
Or I can just run through them and then you can circle back to the ones that you want to challenge me on.
Okay, I'll start writing them down. I've got food truck meme. Okay, keep going.
So the UN's leading expert in right to food, Israel, said that Israel is intentionally starving Palestinians and should be held accountable for a war crime. He also said Israel is intentionally obliterating small-scale fishing vessels, greenhouses, and orchards in Gaza with the goal of denying people access to food. So that second sentence is pretty powerful. If they're intentionally bombing fishing vessels and greenhouses and orchards and production of food, there's no way you could justify that besides the fact that they are trying to deny them food, unless, of course, it's accidental bombing. But again, his opinion, who's the UN leading expert on this, is that it's intentional. And I have a source for that. Then we have the World Food Program, said that just 10% of meat food supplies have entered Gaza since the start of the war. Now, that in of itself doesn't prove anything. It just kind of paints the overarching picture of how little supplies are getting in and how it's not enough for the population. Okay, so then we go to something a little bit more conclusive. Refugees International said despite Israel's claim to be facilitating humanitarian aid, research analysis by them shows that Israeli conduct has consistently and groundlessly impeded aid operations within Gaza, blocked legitimate relief operations, and resisted implementing measures that would generally enhance the flow of humanitarian aid into Gaza. Now, one important thing to keep in mind here is because Israel is considered the occupying power, whether you agree with that assessment or not, that's just kind of how it is considered by the international community. If they are the occupying power, which it seems like pretty clearly that they are, just them not doing everything they can, like just kind of being, let's just say, totally like, whatever, I don't give a fuck, would still be blocking humanitarian aid and collective punishment because they're the occupying power. So the standard's a little bit different. Okay, so now we go to Doctors Without Borders. International President Christos said millions of civilians in Gaza faced collective punishment, his words, not mine, due to Israel's blockade on fuel and medicine. And I can get into more of that if you want. The IPC said acute hunger and malnutrition have already far exceeded the threshold for famine in northern Gaza, and the IPC warns of major acceleration of death and malnutrition. Again, that one doesn't show intent, but it shows that the picture that acute hunger is getting really, really bad here, in case someone was to question that. Famine is imminent in North Gaza, where 70% of the population are already suffering with catastrophic levels of hunger. This is according to UN-backed report. As the U.S. top diplomat accused Israel of doing starvation as a weapon of war. So we have here about 5 third-party sources or so, and I'm sure there's a lot more, but I just picked the ones that seem to be the most credible, basically saying like, hey, Israel is deliberately, it's either at best not doing what's within their power to make sure the food gets in, but more commonly, Israel is deliberately blocking the food aid. Now, if it is true that Israel is blocking the humanitarian aid, then they are by default guilty of collective punishment, and then by default, they're guilty of a war crime.
Okay. All right. Are we ready?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So I'm interested in this because I hear the claim that Israel is blocking aid. I hear this a lot, and I've gotten linked some things, and I try to figure out what that means, but I haven't seen any good positive claim of that ever being put forth. So before I start on sources that seem to counter that, do you have like a single thing that is demonstrating that like aid is being actively blocked or denied by Israel? Is there any, like, what is the article that that you can point me to that we can read through that?
Yeah, there's many articles.
Give me the strongest one.
Okay, I don't know if this is the strongest one, but I'll just cite this because I have it written down in my notes. So let me pull this up. You want to do like a share screen type of thing?
Oh no, just link me. We can read through it.
Okay, I will. How do you want to send to you? Private chat
or Discord?
Okay, I'll just send to you in private chat because it's easier for me. Let me know if you get this.
Oh, the chat on the side?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so we're starting off with a media article. I'm not sure if this is going to have what I want, but I'll read. Okay. Israel is deliberately starving
Can you share the
Palestinians.
screen, please, so people can see it?
I'm not going to be able to I can't, because I'm like looking at it over on, it's two different computers that I have, so that's really hard for me to do. Can you
mind
read up on yours if you want?
Yeah, let's do that so the chat can see it. Okay, 1 second.
Okay, Israel is deliberately starving Palestinians, UN rights experts say, or UN rights expert says. Exclusive, the UN Special Rapporteur on the Right to Food, Michael Fakhri, says denial of food is a war crime that constitutes a situation of genocide. Israel is intentionally starving Palestinians and should be held accountable for war crimes and genocide, according to the UN's leading expert on the right to food. Hunger and severe malnutrition are widespread in the Gaza Strip, where about 2.2 million Palestinians are facing severe shortages resulting from Israel destroying food supplies and severely restricting the flow of food, medicines, and other humanitarian supplies. Aid trucks and Palestinians waiting for humanitarian relief have come under Israeli fire. There is no reason to intentionally block the passage of humanitarian aid or intentionally obliterate small-scale fishing vessels, greenhouses, and orchards, in Gaza, other than to deny people access to food. So for a first thing here, this second statement is just wrong. There can be military reasons why you would attack certain vessels, greenhouses, and orchards. So this is kind of a huge red flag that this guy is making a factually, legally, everything incorrect statement, but that's fine. Maybe this is.
But that would be only if there's Hamas there.
Or military weapons there, or if they've got reason to believe. This statement is just incorrect. It's utterly incorrect.
But we don't know if it's incorrect.
It is incorrect. He's saying that there's no reason to obliterate these things other than to deny people access to food. That's a factually incorrect statement. There is no way that we can.
I think that's him giving his opinion right there. I mean, we can quibble over that, but I think that's more.
Hold on. No, wait. No. This is not stated as an opinion. He said there is no reason to obliterate greenhouses and orchards in Gaza other than to deny people access to food. That's the statement. That statement is wrong.
Okay, I'll just even grant you that, and that statement is wrong.
Okay, doesn't disqualify the rest of what he says. We're just saying that statement in and of itself is wrong. Okay, now for some evidence of this. Okay, aid entering Gaza dropped to 98 daily truckloads in February, down from a pre-conflict average of 500 to 600 truckloads. Are these truckloads, is this exclusively food, or is this all types of aid, or is this like what?
I think it includes food, water, medicine. That's essentially the brunt of it.
Could it include? Well, let's see if it says it. Maybe it says it.
Could it include what? I might be able to answer your question.
Well, for instance, could it include like construction materials, for instance?
I think in theory it could, but I think that the vast majority of it, from what I read, is largely food. But then also you got clean water, because right now there's massive water crisis there where people are drinking from the sea, and also medicine.
Okay, well, because that's important, because like, let's say theoretically, what if it was the case that a ton of building supplies used to go in, and now in the war they're not bringing in building supplies because nobody's even building anything, but maybe like the amount of food that's going in is actually increased. If that was possible without knowing what is in these trucks, then it would be silly not to break down like what's actually going in.
Would that really be the case you would make? Because I think that seems a little absurd.
Really? How much food is in one truckload of food?
Probably several tons.
How much food does the average Gazan need? How many trucks a day of food needs to go in for people to be fed?
Well, it seems like it's closer to 500.
Really?
At the very least, I can't give you an exact number on this, but at the very least.
Real quick. I'm not asking for an exact number. I'm just showing you don't even have a ballpark. So for you to say that it would be absurd to assume that 98 trucks.
You're showing me. Okay. No. I didn't say I don't have a ballpark. I said it's probably around 500. That's a ballpark.
You think they need 500 to 600 trucks of food today to survive, and now that's cut by 80%. You think that's the case?
It seems like before the war, about 500 or 600 was getting in, and it seems like maybe that wasn't even enough. But so the minimum would be 500 a day, 80 a day. So dropping that by 5x is definitely not sufficient. And the evidence for that would be the fact that that you see people literally starving. They're eating wild flowers. You can see.
Well, careful. If you go that far, the evidence all contradicts you. Because if we were to assume that it's actually a huge lack of food and people are starving, you would see way more than like 2 stories on it. You would start to see thousands or tens of thousands, like what happens in Yemen.
You do see a whole bunch of stories on it.
No, you don't.
Yeah,
I've followed it. No,
I can find you dozens of stories.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Dozens of stories on like the same people with cerebral palsy and stuff. But I'm saying that you would see hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands of people starving.
Cerebral palsy is Amnesty International cerebral palsy. Like These are pretty well reputable third-party
If you want, okay,
organizations.
if you want, show me an Amnesty International or UN report that talks about how many people have starved to death. I don't think you're going to find that. But if you think there is one, I'd be curious seeing it. But
Why does it need to be starved to death? Why can't it just be people who are starving to death?
well, it's hard for me to imagine that your food intake is cut by 80% and nobody is like starved if this has happened for 4 or 5 months.
No, I'm sure there are plenty of people that starved. But wait, are you just disagreeing with the basic premise that
No, wait, hold on, wait. I'm just saying. I was just saying that you wanted to use a future piece of evidence, saying, "Well, look at the people eating flowers." And I'm saying, well, if you go to the future evidence, if we go even further down the line, because we haven't even established your thing yet, I'm saying, go further down the line. It doesn't seem to be the argument, or it doesn't seem like we can establish that people are starving if nobody's actually starved to death yet. It doesn't seem to be the case. Now, maybe that's a longer process than I'm aware of, or whatever. But yeah, I'm just saying that the evidence down there doesn't seem to support that idea.
Yeah. So first of all, it is a longer process, like you said. They're not eating 0% of food; they're just eating way less. There's a whole bunch of evidence that confirms this. The fact that you see massive increase in malnutrition, the fact that you see people literally scavenging and eating like dog food and shit like that. But I'm just curious: are you disagreeing with the premise that people in Gaza are not getting enough food? Like, do you completely dismiss that premise?
I'm not even. Hold on. First of all, that's not a premise. That would be a conclusion. Okay.
Do you disagree with that conclusion? Sure.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen strong evidence to support that conclusion, or the evidence seems mixed at best. But the first thing that we were looking at right now was it seems like right now we've got trucks that we're entering. It was 500 to 600 trucks a day pre-conflict, or at least in February, and that's dropped to 98 trucks a day. But when I'm looking at like the graph of, or I'm looking at the data source down here, it says this data includes commercial and aid trucks, daily average calculated for working days. I don't know then, does this include a bunch of like construction or other heavy supplies that aren't related to food that are no longer going in because there's like a war? That's why I'm not sure. But I also don't know the answer to how many tons of food need to go into the Gaza Strip per day. I don't know the answer. I don't know how many tons of food a population needs to survive. I don't know the answer to that mathematically. But it sounds like you don't either, which is why I'm questioning when you say my hypothetical or my question is absurd, that maybe in 100 trucks, you could get even more food than you did with the 500 or 600 trucks, because maybe the vast majority of the food in the 500 or 600 trucks, or the vast majority of storage is like construction materials. I just don't know the answer to that. I'm not sure.
Do you actually believe that that's the case?
Um,
From what I've seen, acute malnutrition has gone up by 16x since the start of the war.
by 16x by the start of the war.
Since
I
the
don't
start
think
of the
that's. I don't know if that's possible, because I feel like that would mean that the acute malnutrition would have had to have been under 100 divided by 16. That means that it was only 6% beforehand, because if it increased, if the acute malnutrition was 10% of the population, it can increase 16 or 17 times, because that would be over 100% of the population. So that number immediately sounds incorrect to me. I thought that malnutrition instances in the Gaza Strip were around like 20 to 40%. So the most it could increase would be like 3x or 4x, but anything more than that would be fantastical.
Yeah, so like if you want like sources and stuff like that for that, I just didn't think this was going to be a disputed claim.
Well, no, wait, hold on. First of all, when it comes to Israel-Palestine, wait, hold on. When it comes to Israel-Palestine, everything is a disputed claim. That's why I dig into all of the primary sourcing on all of this instead of doing that. But also, but that doesn't necessarily mean, hold on, we haven't even established if I'm right or if you're right or if you're wrong on anything. I was just asking a very basic question here, because this is how a lot of tricks are played. My very basic question is, what's in these trucks and how much food do they need to survive? Well, I think those are pretty fundamental basic questions. Maybe the article itself might actually detail that. I don't know. I'm just asking because I see that it says here commercial supplies are included. That might have dramatically been cut after the war started, because you don't want to ship in commercial stuff that they're using to, I don't know.
Okay, right. But so do you acknowledge that just because I can't give you an exact number doesn't dismiss the claim? I mean, I've seen.
No, it doesn't dismiss the claim. But if the claim, this would be my question.
It's like when people talk about the Holocaust. It's like, how many exact number of Jews died? It's like, well, I think it's about 6 million. What, you can't give me an exact number? It's like just a weird, I think, like.
It's super not weird. In fact, it's so normal. What you're doing is weird, right? You said you did. Hold on, wait. You said you do a lot of like exercise stuff, right? Hold on. Let's say I were to say, I want to measure your calories. I want to measure your calories based on how much money you put on your credit card last month. Would that be a good way to measure calories?
You want to do what exactly?
If I wanted to measure your caloric intake based on the dollar amount that you spent on your credit card last month, would that make any sense at all?
No, I don't see how that's analogous.
Because why would I be measuring trucks?
Let me me get a few.
Well, no, hold on, wait. You said you don't understand. I'm explaining the analogy, and then you're. I'm saying daily truckloads doesn't tell me anything. Why wouldn't this be measured in tons of food?
Why would it not be? Because there's more to humanitarian aid than just food. There's medicine, there's clean water. So food is by far not the only thing. In fact, I would argue clean water is probably more important than food.
Then why not break it out? Why not just break it out?
Okay, sure, we can go through that. I'm actually just pulling up some sources. Anyway.
Sure, we can. But I'm saying that right now it's highly suspect that we're measuring in truckloads and including other stuff. Why not just measure food or water?
Well, there's a whole bunch of other things that can be mentioned. So, for example, a senior UN official warned that at least 500,000, over 500,000 people across the Gaza Strip, 1/4 of the population face catastrophic levels of food insecurity, and 1 in 6 children under the age of 2 in the north were suffering from acute malnutrition. So there we have a fairly definitive statement from a senior UN aid official.
Like, what was the acute malnutrition before October 7th?
Way low. I can pull it up if you want.
Sure, find it. Because I've heard all sorts of different things about what malnutrition looked like. Keep in mind, it's like a developing region. You would compare these to other things in the region, right? The Gaza Strip compared to Egypt, compared to Jordan, compared to maybe not Syria because that place is fucked. But you would have to look at the acute malnutrition before and after to know if the numbers gotten worse. Okay, right? That would be important.
Give me a second, and I'll pull it up right now.
Sure, but also we still haven't even. It would be nice to just settle the truck thing. I'm just curious of like, what did the truckloads? Why are we measuring in truckloads? We should know the amount of food and medicine going in and out. I imagine those numbers must be somewhere.
Yeah, there's just like, I'm not in charge of the measuring, but that's just how they measure it. I don't think.
I don't believe you. No, wait. No, hold on. That's not how they measure it. They absolutely, hold on. Just to be clear, you're telling me that the UN or places in charge of humanitarian aid have no idea how much food is going in and out?
That's not what I said at all. That wasn't my statement at all. What my statement actually was is that I'm not the one that's in charge of the measuring. The way I've seen people measure is in terms of trucks. And I think the reason for that, I think the best Occam's razor explanation is simply because humanitarian aid involves multiple things. It involves food, it involves water, it involves medical supplies. So
you're obfuscating super hard. All of these things can be measured super easily. There's no reason ever why you would need to bundle all these things together. That's such a weird thing.
Am I going to be able to finish this statement, or is this just going to be like,
okay, go for it,
like a Norman Finkelstein type of debate? So I'm not saying they can't be measured. I'm just saying that's the reason why I believe they're measuring it the way they do, because it includes multiple things. Now, that doesn't mean that they can't do it. I'm sure they can do it in terms of food, and I'd be happy to pull that up. But real quick, you asked me, we do got to keep it one thing at a time because I can't like research 5 different things. You asked me the acute malnutrition rate before and after October, well, the war started. So let me pull that up for you. Okay, let me pull it. Yeah, so it was 3% before October 7th. So this is a 15-fold increase from the pre-war prevalence of acute malnutrition.
Link me. Let me see.
Okay, sure. Let me pull this up. So here we go.
Wait, hold on. Read this paragraph.
Yes, if escalation continues, a report from London School of Hygiene, Typical Medicine, John Hopkins Center for Humanitarian Health, where just almost half the children in Gaza aged 6 months to 5 years, approximately 140,000 could suffer from acute malnutrition. By August, this would be a 15-fold increase. Okay, so this is a little bit of a future projection.
Wait. Not this is a little bit of, this was a complete projection. This has nothing to do with the current situation on the ground.
Well, how do you think they got this? Like, do you think they just made it up?
Yes.
I mean, so but the actual thing you asked me, what was the rate before the whole thing started? 3%, right? So we can just do the math ourselves. So it was 3% back then. And what did I say it was now? What did I pull up? I said it was 1 in 6 children. So 1 in 6 is something like 18%. So yeah, 3% to 18%, that's a pretty big jump.
I would have to see where both of these numbers are pulled from, because now you're getting information that's not here. But I'm just saying.
Well, this is pretty clear. Stood at just 3%.
Well, it's not clear. I don't know where it's getting that information from, because different people define malnutrition or whatever, or acute malnutrition in different ways. So I just want to make sure that the numbers are coming from the same place. But also, hold on, I'm just saying, scrolling down, that paragraph, that was an if. That's saying if this continues, here's a projection. So none of this is based in.
Okay, so the projection part was an if, but the statement that it was 3% before October 7th was a fact.
Well, that's what this article states, but I don't know what their definition of acute malnutrition is here. And if I'm comparing it to anything pre or post October 7th, I want to make sure I'm working with the same definition before and after.
Okay, I mean, like, yeah, we can go down the definition, I guess, rabbit hole. Give me a second.
Well, hold on, it's not a rabbit hole. We need to know the definitions of words we're talking about. But okay, hold on. Coming back to this.
Just really quick, are you disagreeing with the premise that acute malnutrition is so much higher now than before the war? You just disagree with that premise?
No, it wouldn't surprise me if it was. There's a lot of people that are moving, and my guess would be that they have worse access to food now than they did before. So acute malnutrition is probably higher. That'd be my guess. That would be my prior assumption. Would be yeah. But the question is, one, how significantly larger is it? And then two, is it because Israel's intentionally causing it, or is it just the result of having trouble delivering aid to a large amount of people?
Well, so the deliberate causing it would be a whole separate thing we need to discuss. That would be a whole different set of evidence. We're just talking about the establishing the facts. So,
well, hold on, wait. But the facts are important, because if acute malnutrition has gone from 3% to 5%, my feeling on that, I'm going to need a really high standard of evidence to say, like, holy shit, we're going to say that Israel is intentionally causing this? I don't know. But if it went from like 3% to like 90%, I'm like, okay, that's unbelievable. Israel is clearly failing in their obligations to take care of an enemy population, to make sure that food delivery is happening. Like that, it would be very difficult to imagine a world where there isn't some failed obligation there, right? So the numbers do matter.
I'm not saying they don't, but I think that we have to separate the intent a little bit, because if first we need to establish the facts before we can even get into the intent, right?
I agree.
Because
yeah.
it could all be just a weird coincidence. I don't think it is, but I'm just saying that. So let's just establish the facts before we start getting into that. So
wait, I haven't even gotten to do the truck thing yet. We haven't even figured that one thing out. Where we're hopping into something else.
We still haven't addressed this point. Like, I don't know why.
Well, this was the first point. This was the first article you linked me, and this is the fourth paragraph of this first article.
Right, but let's just get through this point and establish the numbers until you're convinced of the evidence I'm presenting.
Wait, I don't even have numbers on anything. I just want to know why we're measuring anything ever in truckloads. Like, it seems like we're already off to a really bad start if we're measuring aid, including commercial stuff.
So do you think is your kind of explanation it's a conspiracy as a way to?
No, I'm not even. You're jumping like 25 steps ahead. But I'm like I'm at the very fundamental information gathering stage here in terms of asking a question about what's going on. So my first question is, why are we measuring in truckloads? Now, maybe the rest of the article, it explains it, but it's really weird to me that you would measure these things in truckloads and not break it down by what's going on.
You keep saying me. I'm not in charge of the measuring. I don't work for the UN. This is just what's being measured in the articles and sources I'm reading. I'm not the one that's measuring it. It's not me.
But then my question would be, first of all, I know that for a fact that people know how much food goes in and out of that country. There's no way that that's unknown. So then my question would be, why is it always presented in truckloads? That seems to be a little bit sketchy to me.
Okay, that's a valid question, I guess. I'm still not sure what the purpose behind that question is.
Wait.
Is it just pure devil's advocate or contrarian, or is it used legitimate? Because the only reason for asking that question is if you doubt the idea that less humanitarian aid is getting in, and you think basically all these international communities are trying to make Israel look bad.
No. You're jumping so far ahead. I'm at a very basic, very fundamental question right now. I'm just trying to figure out why we're measuring something that should have a distinct measurement. Why are we talking about truckloads? I'm not at any conspiracy. I'm not talking about any third parties. I'm not going way down the road for any. All I'm asking is a very basic question. I don't understand why we're using truckloads when we should know the amount going in and out of the country. It's a super basic question. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't have an answer to that off the top of my head. I can find it if you give me 1 minute. But my speculation for why they're doing that is probably because it's just simply easier. So truck, you see 500 trucks, that's easy. 500 trucks went in. Versus if we're doing food, water, you have to weigh the amount of each food. It's okay, we have 3 tons here, 2 tons here. You have to weigh the amount of water. It seems like it's a lot more complex. So
Okay, hold on. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm gonna do anecdote. It's no. Everything you're saying is this is all a waste of time. Okay, stop.
You gotta let me finish. Occam's razor is that they're doing it because it's the simplest way to measure. Go ahead.
No. If you drive trucks, if you've ever worked doing semi-trucks, if you've ever talked to anybody that's humanitarian aid, they're not just shoving random stuff in their trucks and sending them down. There is going to be I know this for a fact. Somebody in Gaza, shoot and kill me if I'm wrong. There is going to be an inventory checklist on every single truck going in and out of that Gaza Strip. There is going to be IDF inspections on every single truck going in and out of that strip. There are going to be humanitarian aid organizations because they spend money and they raise money and they've got to do this tax reporting that are tracking every single piece of food going in and out of the strip. So the idea that like it's simpler to do it this way, that's probably, it's even being simpler, that's probably not true. It's probably simpler to look at your spreadsheet and look at like what's on the trucks because it's already accounted for and just add the Excel sheets, add the actual like fucking bubbles up. So the idea that it's simpler to measure
Who would be doing this? Would this be IDF doing this or would this be the human
it could be a collaboration between humanitarian aid organizations that are measuring stuff going in. It could be some Palestinian-based organization that runs the gates. It could be the IDF or Israel that's measuring stuff going in and out. It could be any number of things. It could be the UN. It could be anybody.
Yeah, so like just again, Occam's razor, it's a fucking war zone. It's massive chaos. I mean,
no, it's not. What do you mean? It's massive chaos to load a truck and ship it across the border?
Wait, let me just finish my statement. Jesus Christ, bro. So yeah, Occam's razor is that it's a war zone. There's fucking a lot of people describe it now as essentially lawless. So yeah, you're talking about before the border, but again, it seems like the Israeli army doesn't really give that shit, at least not that much about the trucks getting in. So I severely doubt they're going to be the ones participating in counting and nickel and diming everything. That's going to be the first thing. The second thing is that I think the organizations trying to deliver aid are more focused on getting the aid to people rather than taking some of the manpower from that in terms of doing like very detailed measuring. That would just be my speculation. Again, if you give me a minute, I can pull all this stuff up. But yeah, that would just be my Occam's razor explanation.
Okay, so Occam's razor doesn't make sense here. The simplest explanation would be that you would track everything going in. Of course, you're not just going to send in random shit and hope that you've got enough at the end of the day. Number one. Number two, when you say you don't think the IDF is going to be nickel and diming everything, that's one of the major contentions of the IDF is they do too many inspections. When people say that Israel is slowing down aid, usually...
Yeah, inspections is not the same thing as nickel and diming. So inspections... Again, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves, but inspection seems to be like a reason to actually deny the aid because what you see, and this is a common tactic I think is pretty well established, is a truck is driving to the border, IDF inspects it, which is fine. IDF should inspect.
Wait, what do you think is part of an inspection?
Let me just finish. Jesus Christ, dude. So the truck drives in, IDF inspects it, which is all well and good. They should inspect it. But if there's something in there they don't like, and we're not talking about like bombs, we're talking about like a tent because the pipes can be used for this or something that's not commonly associated with like, with war. It's just like some humanitarian shit that people need, like tents because they're living in the desert, blah, blah, blah. And then instead of just like taking the thing off that they don't like, what they do is they make the truck turn all the way around, go back to the original source, and then repack it. And that's something that a lot of human rights organizations and just people in politics have complained about because like, hey, you're just literally just stonewalling this. It's just a weird distraction tactic to keep the aid from coming in a timely manner.
Okay, so if you've got a truck going through and there's an inspection happening, my guess is that inspection is going to be a combination of people inspecting the stuff you've got in the back of your truck. It's going to be a combination of using some machines probably to investigate things, and then these like X-ray machines or whatever. And a lot of this is probably going to be based off of the actual shipping manifest of whatever the actual truck is holding. Meaning, my guess is going to be an inspection isn't just they go back there blindly and see what's up. You probably have a truck driver saying like, "Hey, here's what's in my truck. You can go and check this out. Here's like a manifest of everything that's in my trailer," and then boom, you're going to do the investigation. So they're going to have a rough idea, or not probably, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say rough. They're going to have an exact idea of what's on all of these trucks. Anybody driving any of these is going to know, I need to stop hedging. They're going to know exactly what's on that truck, especially because the people that are donating to these organizations want to account for their money being spent. You're not just going to say like, oh yeah, we donated all of our money to the Gaza Strip, and trust me, they're getting lots of food, but we have no idea how much is going in on any of these trucks because we're not tracking anything. How would a humanitarian organization even know if they're getting enough food if they're not tracking how much food is going in and out? And then on the third point, you said organizing the delivering of the aid is really difficult because it's a war zone. It's not a war zone outside the Gaza Strip. Everything on the other side is pretty calm. You've got trucks, you've got people loading shit. You're going to be accounting for everything. It's not a crazy hellish war zone on the other side. You should be able to know exactly what's going into this territory, the Gaza Strip.
Yeah, so I think I'm starting to get some numbers for you if you give me a minute. I just didn't think you were going to challenge me on this, but that's fine. I'm just going to pull up all this stuff. More than food on 3 March. Okay. I'm going to, because it seems like you can actually get that information.
Yeah, I would have, of course. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So let me get the first aid sheet using Rancher. Why are we just trusting it? Yeah. Okay. How many tons of food is of food is getting in Gaza? 2,000 British from across Gaza and is being distributed in the actually law program to families in British home. Well, this is just British food. We don't care about that. We need to see total food getting in. Okay, let's look at the New York Times. The food here. Challenges here is under the 20. Just the entry into the turn, driving miles. Most of that housing is international. Still on charts. So I see a lot of quotes about how not enough food is getting in, but I want to find exactly the thing you asked for. Okay, I think this is it. Yeah, this is just talking about the. Okay, I think I got it. Okay, 1 second. Next morning, inside. That's the offer. This one, too. Let's see if I can see this one, please. Okay. Well, I didn't find the important side. Chance to get to the middle. There's a lot of lower cost of extreme cost by trucks. So this one article, it's not exactly what you asked me for, but I'll just quickly specify. So in terms of sheer volume of food, there's more than 21,000 metric tons already in the World Food Program warehouses, import said, but they're not able. Most of them are not able to get in. So that's just a little bit of a side point. Okay. Okay. Well, this might be the right thing. Use it for enough to feed 25 the gospel, also about nutrition. Much worse.
Well, here I'm curious. Before digging so deeply into this, which is fine, we can do this. I have no problem. I want to. I'm glad we are. But like, do you even know when it says truck here? Between the trucks going in pre and post conflict, are these trucks even the same size?
I don't know if they're exactly the same size, but I would assume they're the same size.
Why?
What would be the evidence for why they're not the same?
Because when I go outside and I look at vehicles, they're not all the same size. There's tons of different sizes of like trailers that you can attach.
Yeah,
to
that
semis.
has nothing. But we're talking about something very specific. We're talking about trucks that are being used by like the UN and World Food Program.
No, we're not.
We're talking about trucks that are specifically designed to deliver aid. I don't see any.
Wait, no, hold on, no. On the article you linked me.
Let me just finish.
Wait, no, you're not answering my question. On the article you linked me, these are not trucks for aid. On the article you linked me, these are just truckloads. That's all it says.
Okay, we've established that. Just give me a chance to answer your question. Then you can rebut it. You can disagree with it. You can do whatever the fuck you want. So the question you asked me is like, well, how do we know they're the same trucks? Well, I would have to look at photos of the trucks, but the reason that seems to be the most logical conclusion is because they already haven't. So because before the war, it was about 500 trucks getting in. For these now 90 trucks getting in, why would they get totally different types of trucks unless there's some conspiracy theory going on? They were probably using the same exact trucks they were using before the war. Like, why would they get totally brand new types of trucks? It makes no sense.
Because the security situation is radically different, because the types of stuff that's going into the country might be radically different. For instance, prior to October 7th, I could imagine that some dude called like Sal's Woodworking Company might do a shipment of carpenter wood to Gaza City because they sell wood there, right? This dude in his little truck that's selling this shit, or even Steve's carpet cleaning van, maybe I'll go to Gaza City to go clean some carpets. My truck's probably not making it into the Gaza Strip during the fucking war. It might be the case that the only trucks that go in afterwards are massive semis that are part of like massive convoys with military protection. That would be a case where I could totally understand, yeah, the type of truck going in is going to be way different than the type of truck that would have went in prior to the conflict.
Do you have any evidence for that? The trucks are different, or is this just a speculation?
This is a reasonable speculation that I think anybody would instantaneously agree with, and you would need a dramatic piece of evidence on the other side to say that every single truck is standardized and it goes in the exact same way before and after. I think everybody would agree with that a priori with a very high confidence. You need a lot of information to push against the idea that there's like a standardized truck size in Israel and Gaza that everything is the exact same.
Okay, we're kind of both speculating right now.
Wait, hold on. Hold on, we're not speculating. You've talked.
My statements.
Wait, no, because you've talked like 80% of the time.
Okay.
You've talked like 80% of the time. I've barely spoken here. Yes, you have.
That's not true at all. Okay, go ahead.
I'll
pick up where I started.
You keep mistaking my issues that like I'm the one putting forth a positive argument or whatever. I'm not. I'm just attacking the idea that we're using 98 daily truckloads in February down from a pre-conflict average of 500 to 600 truckloads. The issue is, one, we don't know what's in the trucks. Two, we don't even know if these are dedicated to humanitarian aid. No, we do know that they're not. There's commercial stuff. And three, we don't know the size of the trucks. We don't know anything about this. This is like literally the worst possible way ever to measure whether or not food and humanitarian supplies are making it in and out of the Gaza Strip when I know better measurements exist. When I see something like this, I'm very suspect about it. That's the issue.
So show me one of these better measurements.
You want me to show you a better measurement?
Yeah, you said you have better measurements, so I want to see it.
Okay. Here's a link right here. Every single thing that goes in and out of the Gaza Strip when it comes to humanitarian aid is being tracked by this. Here's a website that shows you all of the tracking on this. This will show you can break down individual elements of food. So for instance, things like apples or bananas, or you can break down categories of things. You can click here. You got
source here. I've never heard of this website. What's the source for this? This doesn't seem like any kind of like established source or anything like that.
Okay. I can tell you, but just to be clear, you were willing to accept the one sentence thing on that Guardian article that you read to resolutely confirm that 3% of Gazan children had acute malnutrition. But when I've linked you a website that's breaking down every single thing going in and out of the...
It's not the only source I have for that. It was the first one that I pulled up because you said just pull up one of the first ones that you have. Yeah, I'm not even necessarily discounting your source. I want to get clarification. Also, the Guardian is a pretty well-established source. Or at least newspaper. I've never heard of this. I just want to know what it is.
Okay, my understanding is all of this information comes directly from UNRWA.
No, some of it comes, or for this, or for what?
For what I linked you, this website.
Okay, you're pretty sure about that?
I don't know how else you would get a detailed breakdown information like this.
Well, it could come from the IDF. It could come from...
this dashboard is currently a work in progress. For more information, or if you have any queries, please feel free to contact Jenny Baez at j.baez@unrwa.org. We are committed to ensuring the information presented here is current and accurate. As such, the database will regularly be updated as new data becomes available. Stay tuned for the latest updates and enhancements.
Okay, so I'm trying to make sense of this website. So open days 150, and total number of trucks into Gaza by Kareem. Can you guide me where exactly? So we see that the vast majority of the trucks contain food items. What exactly is the better measurement here? I'm confused. Because I see that if we go, we see 10, 21, 23. We have to go a little further back. So we have to go to like 10, 01, 23. So if we go further back, so...
well, this is giving me so I can see, so for instance, if I'm looking at apples, I can see the quantity of pallets that are being shipped on a given truck. So I can see there are on the 21st month? No, March 21st, I can see that a truck shipped 26 pallets of apples through the Kerem Shalom crossing into the Gaza Strip. That's giving me information on that there. I see beans, I see biscuits.
Yeah, it seems like if we just go off the source, there's definitely less shit getting in. What does PRCS stand for?
PRCS, Gaza Strip. the Palestine Red Crescent Society. Red Crescent, I think, is another name for like kind of Red Cross, but it's my guess is going to be is this is the division of the Red Cross or humanitarian aid distribution that works in the Gaza Strip.
Okay, so yeah, like just this source, I don't think it's really going to support what you're saying. But let me just kind of
well, this source won't support what I'm saying because this is just giving you the post-war entries for stuff that's going into the country, and then I can link you the OCHA website that's going.
If you change the date, you can actually see before the war. So I'm just going to do that.
I don't think you can.
We can start with October 1st. Okay, so
wait, can you?
This website is like kind of laggy. Give me a second, I'll tell you. 21/10/21. No, unfortunately, you can't.
Yeah, it's only post-war.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
But we've got the OCHA that will track everything going in pre-war.
But why do you think then, not to like detract, but why do you think that the acute starvation is on massive rise? That
I don't know if acute starvation is on massive rise. It could be, but it wouldn't surprise me if it was because of how many people are moving around, because especially in North Gaza, the situation is highly precarious. My guess is it probably is. It wouldn't surprise me if it was, but we're not even at that part yet. We're not even at the measurements. We're not even at what it was like pre and post war. We're just like trying to figure out what's going in and out of the country.
Yeah, I mean, again, it seems like, okay, not to keep bringing this up, but it seems like every third-party organization is literally saying the same thing, like, hey, not enough humanitarian aid is getting in. Now, whether they're measuring it in trucks, from what I've seen largely, that is true. But they're also saying not enough humanitarian is getting in. These people are starving. There's essentially now a famine going on. So that in of itself, it's like, why would every single humanitarian organization lie about this?
What are we having an argument over right now?
We're having multiple arguments over multiple things. So you are trying to deep dive into exactly what is on the trucks and whether it is, whether it's less now than it was before in terms of food and the important stuff. The side point I made on that is, while it is true that that a lot of these humanitarian organizations use trucks as a form of measurement, at the same time, they're also still saying that, hey, these people are starving. Acute malnutrition is a massive rise. Half or quarter of the country is facing a famine. You see statements like that. Like, for example, you see.
Okay, so real quick.
The World Food Program saying only 10% of necessary food is getting in. So you also have a lot of really strong statements like that. So all these organizations would need to be lying.
Okay, so if we're arguing about what do third-party humanitarian organizations say about Israel, then I would say you're 100% correct. I'll instantly concede every single point. There are organizations that are saying this. If we're asking about what are the actual conditions on the ground, or what do we think are the conditions on the ground, well, now we have to dig into why they're saying that. So for you to say that these people say that, I know they say that. I've seen what they say. The question is, why do they say that? And that's where you have to dig through the manifest. You got to dig through the data.
What's your theory for why they say that? Like, do you think they're lying, or what do you think is going on?
But if you want, we can like fast forward, all the way to that part of the conversation if you want, but we haven't even gotten close to that part of the conversation yet. But yeah, I would say that there's a lot of misrepresentation going on here, because I think I think that people are super bought into a really stupid narrative right now internationally that plays well with a whole bunch of different donor bases. It plays well with a whole bunch of different audiences. That when I try to like chase down concrete data for, it seems really fucking hard to support. And I think this goes all the way back to this first disagreement we have with this first article, where I agree with you, The Guardian is typically a pretty reputable publication, and I agree that the UN and everybody else are typically pretty reputable. So it's very strange to me that when we're figuring out whether or not supplies are getting in enough, we're quoting truckloads of stuff. That's very strange to me. When even the source itself admits that there's commercial shipments on these trucks, we have no idea how much is going in on these trucks. We don't know if any of this is standardized, if it's the same size or not. We don't know how much of this is food or medical supplies. We have no idea. So like me asking, how many calories did you eat last week? And you go, oh, I spent $400 on my Wells Fargo debit card. I would say that doesn't tell me anything.
Yeah. So I have a little bit more of a source. So the World Food Program said 141 tons of food supplies, including canned fish and sunflower oil, bad for you, have crossed into Gaza on those 74 trucks since the opening of the Rafah crossing on October 21st. For aid to reach the 1.5 million Palestinians who were told by Israel to evacuate from the north of Gaza south, operations need to be scaled up with at least 40 trucks getting food supplies into Gaza daily. So this is the World Food Program. They're saying, hey, this is how much tons are getting in,
Right,
and
link
there
me.
needs to be a lot more. Sure. Give me a second. Food getting into Gaza. World Food Program. Yeah, give me 1 second. Okay, there we go.
Oh, is it this article? Food lifeline for desperate families in Gaza at risk without fuel?
No, it's not that one.
Okay.
I need to just make sure that this is the correct thing. Yeah, this is just more future projection. Let me find the horns. Okay. Okay, I think this is what I'm looking for. Yeah, so let me link you this. And let me also pull it up on the screen so people can see. Okay, World Food Program famine imminent in northern Gaza near port warns. So if you scroll down a little bit, so overall, the new report shows 1.1 million people in Gaza, half the population, have completely exhausted their food supplies and coping capacity, are struggling with catastrophic hunger. IPC Phase 5. This is the highest number of people ever recorded facing catastrophic hunger by IPC system, and double the number in IPC 5 just 3 months ago. So it seems like it's also getting worse. The report noted a steeply increasing trend in malnutrition across Gaza Strip, where acute malnutrition stood at less than 1% before the escalation fighting 5 months ago. In North Gaza government, latest data includes that 1 in 3 children below the age of 2 are now acutely malnourished. So here we have a pretty clear comparison. This was before the war, and this is after the war. Base emergency, the report said famine. Okay, now let's get to the actual numbers. Okay. Layers involved 18 truckloads of food deliveries developed by World Food Program, Gaza, the convoy, second news coordinated route in Gaza City, delivered some 274 metric tons of wheat flour, food parcels. Brown needs to be made and blah, blah, blah. So this is talking about one delivery. But here's where it gets interesting. World Food Program and our partners have food supplies ready at the board in the region to feed all 2.2 billion people across Gaza. But moving food within Gaza is like trying to navigate a maze with obstacles at every turn. The complicated border controls combined with high tensions and desperation inside of Gaza make it nearly possible food supplies to reach the people in need, particularly in north. This cannot be one of. This needs to be sustained. So this is again. So they're talking a little bit about one of thing they accomplished. So to provide necessary response, World Food Program and its humanitarian partners need Israel to provide more entry points into Gaza, direct access via crossing in the north, and the use of Asha port to bring food aid. So this is pretty clear. They're saying, hey. The numbers that before, like something like 1% of children feed malnutrition. Now it's 33%. We actually have all the food ready, but Israel's making it very difficult, best case assumption, for it to get in.
It didn't say Israel is making it very difficult. There were multiple reasons listed there. Were there not?
Right, but if you look at exactly what their recommendations are, so it says... So to provide the necessary response, World Food Program and humanitarian partners need Israel to provide more entry points into Gaza, direct access via crossings in the north, and use of Asha port in Israel to bring food aid. So all of their recommendations are like, hey, Israel, if you want the food to get in, you have to do this, this, and this.
Wait. What is the most important recommendation they make?
Well, they give 3. So they need Israel to provide more entry points into Gaza, direct access via crossings in the north, and the use of Ashab port in Israel to bring in the food aid. There's 3.
No, read the next paragraph.
Sustained road access both into Gaza and within Gaza critical because other options such as airdrops cannot live volume. Above all, ceasefires are urgently needed for a program of the humanitarian community. Well, massive. Yeah, so I don't understand.
Above all, a ceasefire is urgently needed. So it seems like the most important thing they want is a ceasefire, which makes sense because when you read their thing above, they say that moving food into and within Gaza is like trying to navigate a maze with obstacles at every turn. Now, they do say in the beginning the complicated border controls, but then they say combined with the high tensions and desperation inside Gaza, make it nearly impossible for food supplies to reach people in need, particularly in the north.
Yeah, no one's saying it's a one-sided problem. It's 100% Israel's fault, right? But there's a whole bunch of things that are Israel's faults, and that's
this doesn't even necessarily say aid is being turned down, or it's saying that Israel is at fault for anything. It's just saying that there are, like it says, complicated border controls. I imagine they are probably really complicated right now. They're literally at war. That makes sense, yeah. But I mean, we're super far away from anything of Israel intentionally denying humanitarian aid. It seems there is times where they get enough aid in, because it says even in this article that you linked that 18 food trucks were able to get in on Sunday, which is like exactly how many we need or something. So,
and this also says this cannot be a one-off. So yeah, there was a one-off case where they were able to get a lot of food in, right? One-off case that's going to feed people for like 3 days. But yeah, I mean, then if you look at the actual recommendations, they're saying like, hey, these are the things that Israel can do to largely fix this problem. Again, I'm not trying to argue that Israel is 100% responsible for lack of food. I know Hamas plays a role in this, right? But it seems that there's a bunch of things that are within Israel's control that they could do. Now, next we would have to get into, is it intentional or is it just all a coincidence? And we can get into that when we get into it.
Okay, well, here's like a question, okay? So we've heard this number over and over again. We've heard not enough trucks are getting in. We've heard that people are starving. We've heard these malnutrition, blah, blah, blah. We've heard this over and over again. I'm sure you've got 50 articles saved or whatever. Does it make you uncomfortable that we have no idea, or you don't know, like, off the top of your head, like, how much food needs to go in and how much has been going in? But nobody talks about the tonnage of food. Nobody talks about the amount of food. It's always in these weird obfuscated numbers of truckloads or daily deliveries or...
No, because when I combine it with the other evidence, which is like all these organizations, and most of them which are on the ground saying like, hey, there's a famine going here, or interviews with doctors in all these hospitals are saying, yeah, like we have now way more patients who are malnourished. When you look at it, combine that with all that, it seems pretty clear that not enough food is getting in. Otherwise, I don't think the Palestinians would be eating like flowers and dog food. So if that was an alone thing, then that could raise a concern. But when you combine it with all the other evidence, no, it doesn't really concern me at all.
How long have people been saying that people are starving in Gaza?
I don't know how long that's claiming to be going out for.
Decades.
I'm assuming it's going out, but we're talking about scale. So before it was a lot better than it is now. That's the thing. It's gotten a lot worse.
Sure, but like if they've been saying this for decades,
it's from 1% to 33%.
Okay,
like that's a big increase.
I don't know what either of those numbers mean. Okay, but let's say if they've been saying this for decades. Okay, do you know how many people died of starvation before October 7th? The answer is 0. So if they've been saying for decades, and then you're saying, well, people at hospitals have been saying this, sure, and doctors are important. We should listen, and we should definitely heed their advice for sure. Doctors also said in Al Shifa that terrorists never use that as a staging ground or never use that as a hospital. Even though in 2014, Amnesty International knew that they had an interrogation center there. Even though Israel just recently made a ton of arrests out of there of terrorists, and even though we've got video camera footage of hostages being taken back to that hospital next to the same doctors that said that none of Hamas was there. So I mean, like, yeah, there are people that say things, but at the end of the day, I should be able to, if I was debating this from your position, I should be able to say this. This is what I should be able to say. Destiny, this is how many people live in this country. You need this many tons of food per day to feed this population. Less than that, and you're going to begin to induce malnutrition and starvation. Israel, because of whatever reason, or even if it's not their fault, only this much food per day is getting in. But we don't even have a concept of those numbers. Why would that be the case? Do you think that if it was that they needed 20 tons of food per day and only 10 was getting in, you don't think people would be screaming that from the rooftops?
There's a whole bunch of people screaming about it.
Screaming about it, but not using an exact measurement, not even using an approximate measurement, but obfuscating with things like truckloads. That doesn't tell us anything.
Okay, do you know how many people specifically died in the Holocaust?
Around 6 million, or like for Jews, or
for Jews, around 6 million. Yeah, that's the correct answer. But you don't know the exact number, so then how would it be fair for me to dismiss your whole argument and say, well, you don't know the exact number of people that died, so therefore your estimate is not even correct? right? That doesn't really make sense. For a lot of these situations, we don't know the exact numbers.
No, it's not about, it's about even measuring what we're talking about.
Well, yeah, trucks is a unit of measurement that they use.
No, it's not. Truck is not a unit of measurement. Wait, did you really just say that? Truck is a unit of measurement? I'm the most American guy there is. I don't think truck is a unit of measurement.
For this kind of stuff, it is. Yeah, it seems like they very often talk about amount of trucks getting in, amounts of trucks not getting in. It is a unit of measurement. You may not like that unit of measurement. You may think it's a BS unit of measurement. That's all well and good. But it is a unit of measurement that's being used, especially in this conflict.
What if I measured like number of Jews killed in the Holocaust with like trains? Like 34 trains worth of Jews were killed.
Yeah, so the reason that doesn't work is because you would need what was happening before. So let's just assume that Hitler was like low-key killing Jews like in 1941. It was a little bit. He was shipping 1 train a day of Jews to concentration camp. And then it goes up to 40 trains a day, right? At that point, it would become a relatively valid measurement because we would say, okay, well, he went from 1 train to 40 trains, so therefore the Holocaust severely accelerated.
Okay, I don't think that trains is a legitimate measurement of people, but
you may not think it's a legitimate measurement, but it is a measurement that is used in this conflict.
I don't think it is. I don't think reputable sources use this. I think it's a propaganda talking point. That's why when you look at
the UN, Amnesty International,
no. Hold on. In publicity statements and tweets, maybe, but when you actually look at OCHA, when you actually look at UNRWA, when you actually look at COGAT, none of them are saying just trucks. Like they're giving you, that's why I gave you the website that's breaking down precisely the pallets of apples that are on these things. That's why if we go to real websites, they'll tell you like the percentage of construction materials. And I'm being a little bit facetious because I know that prior to October 7th, I think it was like 50% of the supplies going in were construction materials. All of those have been denied, obviously, because they're in war right now. They don't want construction materials going to Hamas for a variety of reasons. So a huge number of those trucks that were shipping things in initially, it was construction materials. And I'm pretty sure that the amount, I think, I have to go check this again, but I think the amount of food going in right now, when you asked me earlier, do you really think that's possible? And then you wrote it off as absurd. I think it's actually factually true that there is more food going in now than there was before on 1/5 the amount of trucks. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, the World Food Program literally said that just 10% of needed food supplies have entered Gaza since the start of the war. This is pretty specific. 10%.
It's not specific at all. You don't even know what the needed food supplies are.
Food. Like, what do you mean? Like, you want me to give you a
What is needed food? What does that mean?
Things that human can eat that will sustain them.
So
Potatoes.
Only 10% of the food that has been needed has gone in for how long?
Since the start of the war.
So let's assume that an average human diet is 2,000 calories, okay? So you're telling me that only 200 calories a day is being consumed by these people for 5 months?
This is what the World Food Program is
Sure, but do you think about this? You do workout stuff. You're telling me that for 5 months at most, with perfect distribution, all of the people in this territory are eating 200 calories a day for 5 months.
That's according to the World Food Program. That seems to be the case.
I'm asking you the question. Does that seem, for 5 months, you think all these people are eating 200 calories a day?
So this is talking about entered. So I'm assuming that before the war, there was still some food supplies in Gaza. So people probably had some shit. So they're not eating solely the stuff that's getting in. But as this continues month after month, the stuff they had in their house, like for example, think about it. Like let's say there's a zombie apocalypse and I don't know, like you can't go to the grocery store. If you're like most people in your fridge, you'll have enough shit to sustain you for like a month, right? You have some food.
A month?
Yeah, a month or 2 months. Yeah, at least in my fridge, I have enough shit to sustain me 2 months. It won't be comfortable. I'll have to severely cut down on what I'm eating. But,
I would kill myself if in the United States of America, if the average family of 4 had enough food to sustain all of their caloric needs for 2 months.
No, we're not talking about sustain being alive because you don't need to completely meet your caloric threshold to be alive. You just need to eat a little bit and you won't die. You'll waste away. You will eventually suffer malnutrition, which is happening, but you're not going to die, okay? If you just eat, 300 calories a day, you will probably survive for a significant period of time. So to answer your question, yes, it seems that according to the World Food Program, 10% of needed food supplies are getting in, but then there was the fact that, there was already some food supplies there. Then combine that with the fact that, a lot of Gazans have resorted to eating dog food, which can't sustain you for a period of time. We're eating like wildflowers or like foraging and shit like that. So I don't think they're eating just 10% of their calories because of all the things I mentioned, but they're definitely eating significantly lower percentage of the calories.
But you've already to make that 10% number work, you're already throwing in unbelievably wild estimates that you have no basis in reality for.
What estimates did I throw in?
You're saying that, well, maybe they'll have enough food to survive for a month or 2 months. What if they have enough food to survive for 6 months? What if they exclusively in the Gaza Strip just store like rice and beans, right?
Well, I'm not quoting a statistic. You kind of asked me, what do I personally think? You didn't ask
well, what I'm trying to show is that
you asked me what I personally think, now what the sources are, so I gave you my personal opinion.
Okay, I don't believe that. Whatever that 10% number, I don't believe that's true. I don't think that's true.
Well, why do you think you know better than the World Food Program?
Because that just sounds unbelievable to me. 10% of the calories needed for those people to survive. Well,
sounds ridiculous, so therefore you don't believe it.
I'll be a little bit more fair. My prior assumption is starting very low that number is true, but I know because I've read more that that's not true. That only 10% of the required calories are made it into that country. I don't believe that's true. Link me what you're reading. Actually, let's read about that. Link me.
Okay, I need to find this article. I don't think I have this one on hand, but I could probably find it. So, what's a better source?
Wait. Where are you reading this from? If you don't have the article, where's this quote coming from?
It's BBC. I just need to pull up the article. Hang on a second.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah.
Okay, here it is. I just want to make sure this is the right article.
Also, there's no way somebody could survive on 300 calories a day. I'm pretty sure you're dying at that point.
You're severely malnutrition, but yeah, you will survive for months and months.
No, there's no shot. Well, let's think. I would imagine that even in metabolic fucking syndrome mode, you're probably consuming at least 1,000 calories a day for your body to survive, no?
No, I think most of the vast majority of them are not consuming 1,000 calories a day.
No, I said your body is consuming, like for energy.
Yeah, well, then if you don't move much and if you just kind of lay in bed and shit, then you don't need less energy. But yeah, they're wasting away.
No, hold on.
They're going to be wasting away. Yeah,
no, hold on. Wait, that's not even, hold on. For your basal metabolic rate, the amount of calories you need to burn just for the systems in your body to work, that number is going to be, if a male is consuming 2,000 calories a day, my guess is going to be what, 1,400 or 1,500 is your BMR or something? Even if you're just laying in bed, like your brain has to function, your heart has to beat, all of the systems, your organs and everything are still functioning.
It doesn't. So unless you completely cut yourself off from food, it doesn't, your death isn't going to be imminent, right? It's going to take months and months if you're getting some calories in. Again, we're going a little bit outside of my area of expertise, but as far as everything I've read, that seems to be the case. It's just if you get a little bit of food in, again, you're gonna eventually your organs will start shutting down. There's a whole bunch of long-term, even medium-term health complications, but you're not going to die within a month.
Within a month, probably not. I mean, it depends on your starting weight, but I don't know if you could survive 4 months or 5 months on 300 calories a day.
Well, some of them have not survived for 5 months.
Okay. I'll wait for your article, and then we'll go over that.
Okay, yeah, give me a second. Oh, yeah, so here's something a little different, but they said the food that has
wait, not a little different. Give me the quote that we read before, that exact quote.
Let me find it.
You do know that even if you fast for about a month or two, you'll still be alive, right? What are you talking about? Well, it depends on your starting weight. You can only lose so much weight. If you're burning 1,000 calories a day, that means about every 3 days you have to burn a pound of something in your body, because your body is going to have to be drawing calories from some other source. It's going to start burning through fat. It's going to burn through muscle, and once you run out of that to burn through, then you die. You can't invent energy. I don't know if your body can consume organs, but at some point you're going to die. Actually, no. What will happen is your body fat will drop to too low of a percentage, and once you hit a certain leanness, I think your brain just stops working. All of your endocrine system gets fucked up, your hormone production gets fucked up, and then eventually you don't have enough body fat to keep your brain functioning, and then you die. I don't know what the raw weight is of bones of a person, but...
Okay, there we go. I found the source. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. I have so much shit open. I think. Wait, let me just make sure I got the right article. How much aid is? Okay, this is the correct article. How much aid is getting in? Okay, so here's the source, BBC, fairly reasonable source. So there's a lot of shit here, but if we scroll down to the quote that you wanted info on.
Wait, link me the article.
Okay, sure. 1 second. Here you go. But I'm also going to pull it out for you. These include, so the 20 trucks, blah, blah, 2 weeks after Hamas included, blah, blah. In November, the World Food Program said just 10% of needed food supplies have entered Gaza since the start of the war. So there you go. Source from the World Food Program, but in BBC.
Wait. Read that again?
In November, the World Food Program said there's just 10% of needed food supplies have entered Gaza since the start of the war.
Okay, so isn't that kind of weird that we've got an article that's dated in March, right? This article is March 15th, so this is a week-old article. Why are we quoting what the World Food Program said in November?
Why not? Like, why does that make it like? Are you questioning the source? Like, I don't understand what's weird about that. So yeah, sometimes articles quote things from a month or two ago.
Not with a rapidly and dynamically evolving situation. Of course not. What do you
mean?
So
then show me some kind of source that suggests that the 10% number is wrong.
Wait, I'm not saying that the 10% number is wrong, but for a variety of reasons, this could be
what
way.
Are we arguing about?
Well, what did you just say earlier? You said you said they might have had local food stored. They could have had more local food production. They've got farms and stuff there. It might have been that in the beginning stages.
Pretty much all the farms got wiped out, so they're not really
immediately on day one. Immediately, every single farm got destroyed.
Not on day one. This is November. I don't think they got wiped out on day one. First, it was a bombing campaign.
So if it took about a month, right? That might not be that crazy that 10% of the needed food supplies made it in that first month because maybe they had a lot of local food produced or stored. Also, maybe the situation was fixed in December or in November.
Do you not see the word needed? Needed food supplies, the stuff that's needed. It's not just 10% of food supplies, it's 10% of needed food supplies. Needed implies these are things that are needed for the population to live. That's the key word right here, needed.
Okay. I would be... Some
in total, also, here's another
arrived on the 20th December.
In total, in January, the World Food Program said it only managed to get full cows into Gaza, around 35 truckloads of food, enough for almost 130,000 people. Great, except that there's 2.2 million people there.
Okay. None of this is like compelling. It's...
Just show me a counter source. Why?
Like, I can't prove a negative. Well, I've already given you a counter source.
No, you can't. So you're saying that the statement I'm making is false, that this is not a good source. This is the World Food Program. Okay, if you can show me some kind of third-party organization that says, hey, actually, 70% of the food is getting in, or 100%, then that's a different point. But if you're like just saying, well, it doesn't feel right. I don't know.
Hold on. Okay. If you want me to put together a counter argument on how much food is getting in, I can do that. It's going to take me a couple days. But what I'm showing is the type of argument that's being demonstrated here would make me out of hand reject it and assume that the opposite is true. Because if the numbers are so shady and so weird and so misleading and so silly with the way they're being talked about, I'm assuming it's because something's being hidden. Because if there was a stronger claim to be made, it would be being made. But when we're using like, well, it's the trucks number and like, well, 10% of the needed food supplies got in November. We're in March now. Why would we even talk about that at that point? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
You're like nitpicking little things. So, for example,
No, wait, hold on. I am not nitpicking. I'm not nitpicking. I'm not nitpicking anything. I'm bringing up a very, very, very crystal clear argument for why accounting for the stuff in this way is incredibly disingenuous. Okay, you already acknowledged in the first article that number of trucks coming in included commercial shipments. Why would you ever obfuscate data like that when you know everything's being tracked that's going into that country? That's really shady, number one. Number two, why is it that articles being written recently are talking about conditions in November and you're citing these to me as though they're current conditions? They're not. This is in November, that 10% number. When you initially said this, it sounded like it was 10% of the total food that has gotten into the started the war.
Well, first of all, it's largely irrelevant because if 10% of the food was getting in November and people are starving, that still in of itself would be collective punishment, right? Just because
we don't know why more hasn't gone in. It's only collective punishment with the intentionality thing. We haven't even gotten to the intentionality thing. We're trying to figure out if it's even happening.
I promise you we'll get there. But so essentially you're saying that like, well, I don't really like your source. I don't really trust your source. But you haven't.
No, I'm not saying.
But you haven't provided one counter source. You're trying to make like kind of little. I guess you're kind of making arguments that like, well, it's not really valid because 10% doesn't seem like enough, and it would be blah 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 blah. So there's two possibilities. Number one is that not enough food is getting in. Number two, every single like third-party human rights organization, UN, Amnesty International, is just straight up lying. Those are the two options. All the doctors, everyone is lying. There's a mass conspiracy going on, or not enough food is getting in. Which one of those do you think seems like the simpler explanation?
I've done too much reading into this to just appeal to the simpler explanation. I wouldn't have wasted 6 months researching this topic to just Occam's razor away everything.
You constantly argue Occam's razor. Like when you were doing your debate with Jordan Peterson, which was good, you literally said, well, on one hand, we have this grand conspiracy theory, blah, blah, blah. On the other hand, we just have people make mistakes. You always argue Occam's razor.
I'm arguing Occam's razor in lack of evidence by the other side. There is no evidence of the widespread conspiracy. That's an assumption they're making. So I'm saying, okay, well, isn't it more likely? And also, I'm not even truly arguing Occam's razor. I would argue like data and facts and studies, but I'm not even at that point with these people because they're already super conspiracy brand. They won't even buy those. I'm just arguing like, don't you think it's possible that it wouldn't make more sense to believe that something like this is more simple? But that's not a legitimate argument I would give if I like. Let's say I always have okay. Somebody on Twitter recently said they wanted to have a debate on the efficacy of the vaccines, okay? When I go into that debate, I'm not gonna be saying, wouldn't Occam's razor say the vaccines worked? That's not an argument. At that point, we're gonna be digging through studies, and more specifically, the methodology of those studies. That's what we're gonna be arguing. When I'm talking Occam's razor, this is a very macro level general argument that I'm having with a person over like where the epistemology of how they generate their beliefs, basically. In this conversation here, if you want a particular, precise argument over the food going in to the Gaza Strip, well, then we're gonna be having a very precise argument on the methodology and the data that's being cited by these orgs. I'm not gonna do an Occam's razor appeal. That's only what you do in absence of other information or in a broad argument.
Well, I presented information after information. You haven't presented really any sources, and you don't like my information, which is fine. So I guess
okay, here, let's read through this. I'll give a piece of information. We'll argue from here.
Clarify one more time, real quickly.
Okay.
So what do you think is more likely? That there's not enough food getting in? Or do you think it's more likely that there is enough food getting in, but all these organizations are essentially lying or obfuscating?
Based on what I know, I would say the latter is more likely than the former.
Really? You think like the UN, the Amnesty International, Euromed Monitor, all of them are just lying? Doctors Without Borders?
I wouldn't say they're lying, but I think they're very shady with how they talk about this issue. Yes.
All the doctors who are commenting saying that all these kids are starving to death, everyone is lying. Everyone's lying.
I didn't say everybody's lying. I said people are shady and they're incentivized to say dumb things, and I would say a lot of it is highly misleading. Yeah, or lying, yes.
If anything, the coverage has been largely pro-Israel that we've seen throughout this conflict. We've seen all
what coverage?
Like reacting to the stuff. Like there was a very interesting article that came out by The Intercept and showed that essentially when we talk about Israelis being killed in in terror attacks or whatever, in strikes, it's always like horrific attack, kills, blah blah blah. And then when you look at the other way, when Gazan people were killed, it's always like, oh, tragic accident, blah blah blah. So there's clearly a pro-Israel bias in America.
First of all, this is The Intercept, which is a garbage publication that I would never trust anything out of. But secondly, when we're talking about a bias in reporting,
seems like you don't trust
it could also be
anymore.
I didn't say that, but I definitely don't trust The Intercept. I've argued with authors from The Intercept that don't know what they're talking about. You can watch those debates on my channel. The Intercept is a trash publication, but regardless, but I won't just discredit I won't discredit the publication. But again, that's going to be a thing where I will attack the methodology. That would be like, imagine if I were to say this. Okay, I feel like there's a bias in the difference between how they report members of ISIS versus how they report members of the U.S. military. It seems like every single time people in the military are killed, like in Syria, it's like, oh my God, it's so tragic. But when members of ISIS are killed, people like celebrate, or they say, oh wow, this happened because of blah, 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 blah. Don't you think there's a possibility that there's a difference between the style of conflict involving these two different parties that might have different reporting of what's going on?
For sure. But I think we have to look at a consensus. Like we do this with the scientific community, and I think we need to look at consensus. And again,
wait, there is no consensus or scientific consensus around bias between Palestinians and Israelis reporting because of an article on The Intercept.
That's not what I'm referring to. I'm talking about something totally different. So we have to by default throw out what Gaza says, Hamas says, and you have to throw out what the IDF says. Is that correct?
No, I don't. No, of course not. What do you mean?
So you're going to listen to what Israel and Hamas says?
No, I would probably trust the Israeli side by default more than the other side. But I mean, at the end of the day, you've got to evaluate both sources.
But why would you listen? I've heard you say in other debates that Israel clearly has a motive to lie.
Yeah, but they have a democratic regime that hosts a lot of its own criticism. Israel is a lot more open to criticism, both internally and externally, and responds to it.
That doesn't change the fact that the top leadership lies, like you said.
It absolutely changes the fact. Of course it does. What do you mean?
Do you think in a Western democracy that the government is not going to lie?
No. Do you think that dictatorships are as honest with their people as democracies are?
Never made that statement. I think both.
That's what I mean. That's what we're talking about. I didn't say that the leaders never lie, but I'm saying I would trust a democratic leader over a dictator leader. Of course.
But what if instead of having to try to trust both sources who are involved in this conflict, who have every motivation to lie, as you said, we can trust third-party sources who are not involved in this, who are just.
I'm not looking.
Like, why do we need to trust Israel over Amnesty International and the UN?
We don't have to. You just asked me for like a prior statement. My prior assumption is going to be I'm going to believe Israel on a prior assumption more than Hamas.
But that's not what I was asking you. I'm not asking you who you should believe more. I'm asking you whether you think that we should not believe either one of them at all because they're extremely biased and have every incentive to lie.
If you don't want to believe either one of them at all, then you have just no foundation to say anything at all. What do you mean?
No, we can look at all the third-party sources.
What do you think the third-party sources get their information from?
A lot of them are on the ground, like Euromed.
No, they're not. That's not true. You should read through one of these reports. Amnesty International and the UN. Their information literally comes from Hamas and the Gaza Health Ministry, or they comes from interviewing Palestinian citizens that Hamas guides them to watch. Yes, I've read through hundreds of pages of these reports. Yeah, that's where the information comes from.
So Euromed monitors on the ground. They're actually calculating this shit. They were there during the Flower Massacre. Then you have UN spending.
There is no such thing. The Flower Massacre.
I'll get to it. Then you have the whole fact that the UN has sent multiple special investigation teams to investigate various incidents. You have a lot of people coming in. I think I forget what the one that the journalist debate brought up, but he was talking about the organization that talked about the Al-Hifa or whatever, Al-Shafa hospital. They came in. So there's a lot of third-party organizations that are on the ground. They're evaluating the shit.
No, they're not validating. They're interviewing people. They're asking questions of the people that are already there. For the instance, when the UN came and they investigated the rape stuff for October 7th, they were asking the IDF what information they had. They were interviewing Israeli citizens on the information that they had. They were interviewing people from Israeli hospitals. Same thing when they go into the Gaza Strip. They're interviewing Palestinian Authority. They're not Palestinian Authority. They're interviewing the Palestinian citizens there who work for Hamas, who work for the Gaza Health Ministry, which is part of Hamas. That's who the information ultimately comes from. The UN doesn't have an independent fact-checking database.
How do you think Israel is counting the number of deaths?
How do I think? They probably have. My guess is going to be they've got some military analysis, some intelligence way of doing it internally.
How are they doing that?
I don't know. My guess is when they do a strike, they probably have intelligence that tells them how many people they think are inside or not. They probably are going by some of what Hamas is reporting to see if those numbers are syncing up. That'd be a guess.
So, but you're not 100% sure. So if Israel is able to, again, these are all estimates. If Israel is able to estimate, why are third-party organizations that are intimately involved in this matter not able to do that? To me, this is, I really didn't think you were going to disagree with me on this because of what you said on that debate that, hey, we should always...
Wait. You asked me a question. Why do what was the question?
So let me just finish what I'm saying and I'll
Wait, no, you asked me a question. You said, why do you think these people do this? I don't understand the question. Why do I think what? When people report numbers, typically the way that they report is they get numbers from the Gaza Health Ministry, which is run by Hamas, and then they get numbers from the IDF, and then they kind of run through these databases. What do you think happens?
Euromed Monitor does its own calculations.
Wait. When you say does its own calculations, walk me through that process. A person dies. How does Euromed Monitor find out about this?
Well, again, you don't have a clear answer of how the IDF does it. I've never really deep dive.
I know how the third parties do it because I've read the articles. What they do is they have people that they either have wings in these hospitals or they've got people that are in contact with these hospitals, and they email them and they say, hey, how many dead bodies do they have? And then they email back the list of people and they say, these are how many dead bodies we have with names, and then they take those numbers and then they publish them. There was a whole article that was written.
That seems to be a lot better than asking what the IDF is saying. That seems to be a much more compelling system is what the doctors are saying rather than what the country that's waging this war is saying.
We're just talking about number of dead. I would probably agree that the Gaza Health Ministry would have an accurate number of dead people. They tend to even line up with the IDF numbers, and I don't think anybody has ever accused them of lying. It's probably roughly true. I don't think I would disagree with that. But you asked me about information in general, not just number of dead. I don't know if I don't even think the IDF accuses the Gaza Health Ministry of lying about the number of dead. That's not usually a contested number.
have you not seen all the interviews with the Israel spokesperson? They always say, "Oh, these are Hamas numbers," just to immediately dismiss them. No,
No.
Israel heavily pushes back under the concept of Hamas numbers. It's always, well, we have 25,000 people, innocent civilians, who are killed. Yeah, but are those Hamas numbers?
Yes, hold on. But yes, because Hamas, as a matter of policy, tend not to report the number of combatants killed. They only report the number of dead. But that's not contesting the number of dead. That's just contesting whether or not they were combatants.
I've seen them kind of throw out the whole pie essentially by engaging it. But anyway, that's neither here or there. You're saying that wait, so what are we even disagreeing about? You're saying that the source, the way Euromed does it by contacting the hospitals, is superior to what Israel does. So then, what is even the disagreement here?
There is no disagreement. I've never claimed that they have a
well,
huge problem. No, wait. The initial claim that you said was,
disagree.
who do you trust when governments report things? I said, in general, I trust the IDF more than I trust the Gaza health ministry.
That's not what I said at all. My question was, do you agree that we should throw out what the IDF says and what the Hamas says in favor of third-party sources? You just
No.
confirmed that the answer is yes. because
No,
you trust
you don't.
monitor over the IDF. That was the question.
Okay, that's not at all what I said, but okay.
That's okay. People can watch it back, but that's.
I don't know. I don't know what you think. That's why I asked you. Can you walk me through what the process is that you think exists for a third-party source to figure anything out?
Yeah, I don't. I can look it up, but I don't really know.
Well, here, let's
exactly
look it
the
up.
process-
I think it's a good
the process
thing.
they use. If you say it's based on calling whatever officials, hospital officials, and I'll take you at your word for it. But it seems like you
Okay,
agree
here's
with me
this.
that-
I'm just reading this. How the dead are counted. Healthcare workers like Dr. Ghassan Abu Sittah.
Wait, what's the source for this?
I linked it to you. It's the BBC. Medicines Sans Frontier, okay, Doctors Without Borders, plastic surgeon based in London, who's been treating people at hospitals in Gaza City, are key to recording those figures. He says the hospital morgue records deaths after confirming the identity of the dead person with their relatives. The number of deaths registered so far, he believes, is far fewer than those that have actually occurred. Most of the deaths happen at home, he says. The ones that we could not identify, we did not record. However, once a body is found, it has to be taken to the hospital to be recorded, says a spokesperson for the Palestinian Red Crescent. To examine the health ministry's list, the BBC cross-referenced names included on it with the names of dead people who had appeared in our reporting. One of those deaths the BBC reported was Dr. Midhat Mahmoud Saddam, who was killed in an airstrike on the 14th of October. The BBC spoke to his former colleagues. Satellite imagery analysis carried out by the BBC showed damage to the areas where he lived around the time of death or the date of his death. An image posted on social media shows a body bag with his name and details written on it. And then you can scroll below. These are the records that they pull from the hospital. Comes from the, quote, look it up there, State of Palestine, Ministry of Health. That's the Gaza Health Authority, which is connected to Hamas. Similar work, but on a larger scale, is being done by Air Wars. As part of its work investigating civilian deaths, it has matched names of the dead on the health ministry list with areas that have been bombed.
Seems
so
pretty
far,
legit.
yeah, it's basically like a verification or a re-reporting of like the Hamas numbers. Yes, for the Gaza Health Ministry numbers.
Well, if you verify them and you find out they're legit, then what's the issue?
First of all, I'm not even contesting this particular claim because I've never argued this. I'm not even arguing the claim.
So
I'm
what-
just saying
what
that
do you-
I'm just saying that it doesn't make sense to say, oh, well, we should throw out what the IDF and throw out what the Palestinians say. We should throw out the IDF and Hamas, because if that was true, you'd be throwing out all of this, because half of this is relying on what's coming from the Palestinian Ministry of Health.
But
If you throw that all out, you have no way to actually conclude anything. You've got to rely on what the administrators to the regions are saying.
But I'm much more interested in not what the Hamas health ministry says themselves, but what the Euromed monitor actually verifies for themselves, right? I'm more interested in the verification process. But it sounds like we're not even disagreeing that much, because you're acknowledging the fact that third-party sources will be superior to either the IDF or to the Gaza health ministry. So what are we? So this is besides the point. Yes. So the first priority, in terms of burden of evidence, the first top thing is going to be third-party sources. That's I think we kind of agree on this. So I totally lost my track of thought where I was going with this.
Do you acknowledge at the end of the day that all the data comes from Hamas and Israel?
I don't know, honestly, enough about how they calculate. I believe that for Euromed Monitor, they also calculate people who are trapped under rubble, which I don't think the
How do they know who lives there?
Hamas Health Ministry does that.
How do they know who lives in the area?
Probably some kind of official database or something like that.
Which is ran by
Ran by the Gaza Health Ministry.
which is Hamas, yes. So it doesn't make sense to say we have to throw out all of the numbers from Hamas and the IDF. If you do that, you've got no way of knowing anything. Any third-party organization is basically just going through what Hamas and the IDF are reporting and looking for inconsistencies.
I'll adjust my statement. That I think we should first, as number one priority, rely on third-party organizations rather than either one of those two things. Okay, I don't want to like quibble about something that we largely agree on or essentially completely agree on. So the initial point we're talking about is, okay, is there really famine going on? Blah, 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 blah. Just to kind of like fly through some of these. Okay, I'll focus on the key ones. So UN-backed report said Monday, as the EU top diplomat accused Israel of using starvation as a weapon of war, 70% of the population in Gaza, in northern Gaza, let me clarify, already suffering with catastrophic levels of hunger. Then we have Doctors Without Border saying that millions of civilians in Gaza face collective punishment due to Israel's blockade on fuel and medicine. Then we have Refugees International saying that research analysis by them shows Israeli conduct has consistently and groundlessly impeded aid operations within Gaza, blocked legitimate relief populations. Then we have the World Food Program saying that just 10% of needed food supplies are getting in. Then we have the UN's leading expert on right to food, Micah Farkriti. Israel is intentionally starving Palestinians should be held accountable for a war crime. He also said it's blah, 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 blah. So the point is that you have a whole bunch of third-party sources saying this. And I would love it if you can show me some counter evidence. Like, show me a source that says, no, there's no starvation going on there.
First of all, I've never said there's no starvation going on there. Number one.
Then why are we even debating this? I feel like you're just being contrarian right now if you agree with me on this
You're
point.
saying contrarian because you don't understand how to construct an argument, okay? Right now, you're presenting a positive claim. A positive claim means that there's a particular conclusion or argument that you're trying to give to me, and you're trying to say that I have provided ample evidence to support the claim, okay? What I'm fighting with you right now on are the premises that you've given. I'm saying that your argument is not sound, okay? That the premises that you've laid out, they don't work. I'm rejecting them. And then you're saying, oh, well, you're not even giving your own argument. No, I'm not, because I'm attacking your argument, because you're the one presenting the argument right now. I haven't even presented an argument. You have no idea what my position is on this particular thing. But you started off with, first you said Israel was intentionally blocking humanitarian, and now you're giving me arguments about how, the sources say all these people are starving. And what I'm showing is that they might be starving. I haven't even disagreed with the conclusion. I'm just showing you that I disagree with how you're getting there. I don't even know if I agree or disagree with you. We haven't gotten to that part of the argument yet. But I'm saying that that's why I asked you, what are we arguing about right now? Are we arguing about the facts on the ground, or are we going to argue about what like third-party organizations say? Because I know what they say. I can read them. I have read them. But I've also read the underlying reports.
The question is, do you believe them?
When it comes to a lot of the reporting on this, no, I check the methodology and I check exactly what's being reported on in the actual reports themselves, because reading the top line summaries or reading paragraphs out of news articles doesn't seem to be giving me the information underneath that is actually important. Because there's a huge.
Don't you think if you doubt like literally every single third-party organization that you should have some counter evidence that you can present?
No. Hold on. Wait. Hold on. You're getting lost. You do not need counter evidence to attack the validity or the sound.
Are you claiming an agnostic position on this? Are you claiming?
I didn't say that.
So
you don't need a position to counter a position that you believe is unsound. I don't need a position on that. If somebody comes in and they say, okay, here's my syllogism. 5 million people died yesterday to shark attacks, okay? And I know that because on TV, I was watching a cartoon where Dora said that 5 million people died. Therefore, my conclusion is 5 million people died to shark attacks. I can attack that argument all day and say this doesn't logically follow, and the premises aren't even true, so it's invalid and it's unsound. And then you can't go, oh wait, so what's your position on it? I don't need to have a position to attack the validity of the other argument. My whole point is to show you the flawed methodologies being employed here, like measuring trucks to figure out if people are getting enough food or not. Whether or not I think there's starvation or not is irrelevant. The argument being constructed here is not good. That's all I'm making the point on.
You're doubting the conclusion of the sources. You're saying that, no, I don't believe it on this issue. I think they're wrong. So that's what you're saying is all these sources that you cited, I don't think they're correct. The conclusions are not correct. So then once again, my question is, okay, if these sources are not correct, give me some counter evidence of a source that would show what is actually going on.
Sure, I can do that if you want to give me time to assemble those, but me putting forth a positive argument isn't required for me to reject somebody else's positive argument.
So you said you're not arguing the agnostic side. So that by default, if you're arguing the negative side, that you would have to provide some evidence.
I haven't argued any side. My side is going to be largely inductive. We can go through my arguments if you want. If you want to do that, we can do that. If you want to switch gears, but I'm just saying that so far on the other side.
ample chances. I was like, okay, show me some counter evidence, and you haven't done that at all.
No, because you're asking me for counter evidence to debunk your argument. I don't need counter evidence to debunk your claim. I just have to show a flaw in the methodology.
No, not debunk my arguments, debunking what all the third-party organizations are saying. You're saying that I don't believe what these guys are saying. Okay, show me why they're wrong. Show me some evidence. Show me a source.
Okay, you're asking me what the conditions are on the ground is different than asking me if I think that their style of argumentation or their methodology is wrong. Anybody that starts off by quoting, these organizations included, by quoting to me trucks going into the country, I'm instantly discrediting their argument. They might be correct in their conclusion, like in an accidental way, but it's not worthwhile to me. I wouldn't waste my time reading it.
Even if you discredit my argument, but you agree with my conclusion, that still wouldn't really necessarily change anything.
It changes everything.
If the conclusion is correct that there's mass starvation going on, Israel's blocking aid, even if the methodology isn't correct, but we get to the right conclusion, then what's actually the difference? So again, it's not my argument. I'm just repeating what the sources are saying. And you're saying, you very explicitly said, yeah, on this issue, I don't believe pretty much every one of the sources, third-party sources, that's saying that this and this is going on. So once again, I mean, if you want more time to prepare for that, that's well and good. But I'd just be curious if you can provide at least like one source.
Here's a question. Okay. Do you know the answer? Do you know what 2 squared is? Do you know the answer to that math problem would be?
4.
Okay. If I say that 2 squared equals, if I were to say that expression can be simplified to 2 plus 2, is that a correct simplification?
No, but the answer would still be correct. And we're talking about the answer here.
Okay, but would you say that would you trust that methodology?
No, but if the answer is correct, then the conclusion would be correct.
But how do you know the answer is correct?
Well, you just said that you actually believe the answers are correct, the conclusions are correct.
No, I don't. I'm saying that even if the conclusion is correct.
Do you think the conclusions are correct?
Personally, I don't think Wait, hold on. Wait, what? I don't even know what the specific question is. Here's I'll make some general statements on what I believe to be true, okay. Right now on the Gaza Strip, okay? So my first assumption is that there probably is a higher level of food insecurity, starvation, malnutrition, famine, or whatever, than what's ever been seen in the Gaza Strip in the history of that region, at least since in the past 100 years. That's one, that would be a prior assumption that I would have. And my guesstimate on that would be based on the fact that a huge number of people have moved in a very short period of time in an area that was already like a developing region at best in terms of food security, and the fact that it seems like a lot of people are complaining about food getting in and out. So that would be like a prior assumption I would start with. So there's probably hunger, famine, no, I don't know what I'm saying. There's hunger, starvation, malnutrition that's being experienced in higher degrees than I've ever been. Number one. Number two is I think that getting food in and out of there, I keep saying in and out, getting convoys in and out seems to be complicated, but I don't think that it's because Israel is intentionally blocking anything. Because I think that if this is inductively reasoned, I think that if Israel was intentionally blocking stuff, I think that there would be people screaming from the rooftops about that. So the fact that I've seen none of that, and you have no. So I don't believe that's the case. So on the third thing, this is the argument that you were making. You thought you were making two, but you're making another. On the third thing, where Israel is being is obfuscating or is making things too difficult for some arbitrary purpose in getting food in. Now, I've seen a lot of claims about that, but the fact that nobody can give me a single concrete figure on how much food needs to go in and how much isn't getting in, and the fact that when I've dug through like 3 or 4 of these reports, all of them are sourcing stuff that's either months old or they're sourcing singular quotes from other people rather than an actual empirical breakdown, because we know the tonnage of stuff that goes in and out. It's tracked by the UN. It's tracked by the human. It's tracked by UNRWA, and it's tracked by the United Nations food delivery stuff. So if none of that is happening, and people are still saying these things, it makes me feel like there's some bullshit abound. Now, I don't have a high conviction on this, but in the absence of like concrete arguments about what's going in and what needs to go in, and in the absence of concrete evidence about Israel deliberately blocking shit, my prior assumptions are going to lead me to believe, my a priori assumption is going to be that food is probably pretty fucked right now because it's in war, and it's hard to get shit in there because of war, not because Israel's fucking things up intentionally. That would be my assumption.
So there's high, I just want to make sure I wrote this down correctly. There's high, so you agree there's higher level of starvation than everything that's been the last 100 years, but you believe that's because a huge number of people have moved. Okay. And then when it comes to convoys, you're saying essentially that, well, yeah, it's more difficult or whatever to get them in now, but that's not really Israel's fault because Israel is not really doing anything to stop the blockage of the food. Is that correct?
I haven't seen strong evidence of that. So that's where I'm sitting at right now. Yes.
Which one would you be leaning more towards right now? Just if you had to bet your money on it, would you be more leaning towards Israel is blocking at least some of the aid, or Israel's not blocking any of the aid?
My prior assumption for Israel blocking aid is going to be very, very, very low. I can't imagine why they would do that. It's an unbelievably stupid thing to do.
Okay. I mean, I think you have a lot more trust in Israel than I do. But I guess just to like where the disagreement lies in is that I cited like 4 or 5 third-party sources. Most of them are pretty well respected of them saying exactly what I'm arguing, which is Israel's blocking food from getting in. Just because they don't know exact number of food tonnages doesn't dismiss their statement that it's not getting in.
Which is why I said for the 4th time, if we're going to argue about what the parties say, then I agree with you. They have said this. But
I'm saying it's true, and you're saying it's not true.
No. I'm saying that the third party said is not an argument. It's 2024. We've got a fuck ton of cell phones. We've got a fuck ton of record keeping. We've got so much information at our fingertips. If you want to prove, or if you want to make a strong statement about Israel blocking something, we should have a very strong argument for that. Not this doctor at this crossing said this thing.
It's not this doctor at this crossing. We have every single major humanitarian rights group.
Quoting a doctor at a border crossing. Show me the data.
They're not just quoting. I've showed you a bunch of it.
You have it. First of all, none of your sources have said Israel's intentionally blocking anything. Not a single one of your sources even said that.
That's not even true at all. So let me pull up the. Okay, so famine is imminent in North Gaza, where 70% suffered with cash levels hunger. A UN-backed report said Monday, as the EU's top diplomat accused Israel of using starvation as a weapon of war. That'll be pretty clear right there.
Wait. Which one are you quoting from? The BBC one or what? Or wait.
I'd have to find the source for this, but this is a UN-backed report. They came out Monday, said the U.S. top diplomat accused Israel of starvation as a weapon of war. Then we have
wait. Why not one thing? You're obfuscating. You know you're wrong. Okay.
I'm just answering your question.
You're not. You won't even. I don't even know what you're reading from right now. Like, link me what you're reading so I can read it. I don't know why you would just start rambling off quotes when the whole point of me has been challenging you on the individual quotes. It makes it seem like you're not confident in the underlying source material.
Okay, sure. If you want to do that, I can pull it up. I would still like it if you can provide at least one source that goes against what my sources are saying. Just one.
Okay, sure. Just one would be the COGAT reporting. Hold on.
Okay, I think this is CNN. So yeah, there we go. I have it pulled up. Okay, let me share this. You want me to send it to you too?
Sure.
By the way, there's so much more shit we gotta get through. So, but I don't mind doing a part 2 debate or whatever. Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen for the chat, and I'm gonna read off it. Famine in northern Gaza. So the CNN, pretty decent source. A UN-backed report said Monday that the U.S. top diplomat accused Israel of using starvation as a weapon of war. All 2.2 people live in Gaza not have food to eat, with half the population on brink of starvation. Famine projected to arrive in North anytime between mid-March and May.
Projected.
According to the Integrated Food Security Phase Classification.
This is projected.
Okay, fine. Acute hunger and malnutrition have already far exceeded the threshold for famine in northern Gaza, and the IPC warns of a major acceleration. So
also, where is any of this saying Israel intentionally is blocking it?
It was the first thing that I read. So it was right here. So it says a UN-backed report said Monday the U.S. top diplomat accused Israel using starvation as a weapon of war.
That's an opinion. A UN top diplomat accused? What's the evidence? Did somebody shut down a crossing? Did somebody say your truck isn't allowed to come in? Did somebody say no more food? Fuck hungry Palestinian? What is the evidence for this claim? It's just a UN diplomat's opinion.
So yeah, I can give you. Well, yeah, I mean, UN is not just some random person on the internet. So there's many ways how Israel is blocking aid. So one example of this would be that they kind of play this weird game. So when a truck gets to the border, they inspect it, which is obviously, they should inspect it. But then if one thing there's off, and we're not talking about like there's a bomb there. We're talking about there's like a little thing that they don't like. Instead of just taking the thing off and allowing the truck to go through, they make the truck completely do a 180, go back to the origin source and repack. And
Can you give me an example of this happening or an accounting of this happening?
Sure. You've never you actually don't believe this, what I'm saying right now?
My prior assumption here is really low. I don't think this happens very much. I don't know if it's happened at all. I don't know, but I'm
sure. Okay, New Yorker. 1 second. Fuckers want me to subscribe before I can wait. Okay, I don't want to pay for this shit, so let me find.
Or you can do archive.ph. It'll show you the article, or just link me the headline, and I can link you to the archive of it.
I think I will find. Just give me a second.
Also, to be clear, before you show me whatever you're going to show me, like, there are ways where I can see this being reasonable, but the way you're telling me this is very unreasonable. So, for instance, if somebody shows up and their corn is packed incorrectly, and they're like, you need to go repack your entire fucking truck, then yeah, I can say, okay, well, this seems like bullshit. But if somebody shows up and there's like a, okay, then show it to me. But if somebody shows up and there's like a bomb in their truck, and they're like, you need to go back and redo your whole truck, that's totally fucking reasonable. So it would depend on what's, but yeah, I'm curious. I need to see the.
Yeah, so here, I think I got a CNN article pulled up. Mm-hmm. Okay. So we actually have here a quote from a U.S. senator. In January, U.S. Senators Chris Val and Jeff Markey saw maternity kits and water filtration system among most items turned back from its inspection point in Nevada. So here's where it gets. We learned that when a truck with just one of those items is turned down, the entire truck gets turned around, has to go back to the beginning of the process, which can take weeks. So basically, they have to go back to the origin source.
Can you link me? Can you link me the first? Link me the article that we're reading.
But I mean, this is pretty well established.
Well established. You're quoting random U.S. senators now. This is the opposite.
Yeah, U.S. senators are. We can't listen to U.S. senators who are actually there.
When people were getting killed by ISIS, I didn't need, U.S. House of Representatives said they talked to head UN diplomat who swore to God that they heard that people were dying in Mosul to incoming ISIS invaders. You didn't see that. You had video footage of people being fucking executed. You had thousands of eyewitness testimony saying ISIS wanting to execute our fucking people. You've got, governments, you've got military people, you've got radar satellite, you've got a billion different things. You don't have, a statement by UN convoy director says that they don't feel like enough food is getting... These are the weakest statements I've ever heard in my entire life.
That's not what they're saying at all. They're saying that there's a policy of when they see something on a truck they don't like, which I think most people would say, water desalinization is pretty reasonable, and they make the truck turn all the way around.
It?
Go back. Okay, I'm not going to squabble on that. Go back all the way to the site where the truck was sent from, repack, and do that, which adds weeks to the process.
How do you know? How would you decide what's reasonable to go into the country or not?
If it's something that's not likely to be used for killing IDF, I think it's pretty reasonable. If it's something that's necessary for people to survive, like water purification, which is pretty important.
I thought they were just shipping in water. Why do they need water purification?
Because with water purification, you can obviously, it's much more dense. So if you give, for example, a pack of water purification tablets, you can purify a lot more water than just sending a bottle of water. So it's much more... What if desalination machines can be used to construct weapons of war? What if this? What if that? I think most people agree. Okay, fine. Even if the IDF thinks there's a risk there, the solution is not to make the truck turn all the way around. You would just take the thing off.
No, why the fuck? If you can't get your shit straight when there's already thousands of trucks being investigated every day, no, my guess is this probably happens at the U.S. border too. You probably get turned the fuck around.
Or Israel's just playing games to not allow the aid to come in.
Okay.
Yeah, we have also medical kits for delivering babies. Could that be used as a weapon, you think?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I didn't know that you could dig up water pipes and build rockets out of them with fertilizer. I didn't know that. Do you know what can be used to create weapons?
I'm pretty sure that medical kits for delivering babies is probably fairly safe.
Really? Okay. Do you know that?
Did you disagree with that? Do you think that?
I don't even know if medical kits for babies are being. I don't know what a medical kit for a baby means. I don't even know what the fuck that means.
So
Number one.
Why are you even disagreeing with me?
Because I don't even know why we're bringing that up. That's why I caught myself. It's like I don't even know if these are things that are being rejected.
Well, again, according to like every single source, that seems like.
Yes, I understand. You keep in mind, you keep saying every single source, and every single source we've read so far, reading one more paragraph has shown that it's saying the opposite of what you think. It's been projections, it's been statements by random people, or it's been things that have said it's not Israel at fault. That there's a wide variety of things going on. So every single source, you keep saying every single source, but every single source you go through seems to disagree with you.
That was such a bad faith summary. So there was one thing that showed that it was a projection for the future, but then literally, if we go 2 sentences before that, after that, it shows you what is happening right now. So
yes, that there's famine, that there might be starvation or malnutrition happening, sure, but that's not. No, we're not saying that your claim is it's because of Israel. You're saying Israel's causing this to happen intentionally.
Well, we haven't gotten to the intent part of it yet. I can't unless we get through this part. I can't get to the intent part. We haven't covered the intent.
Okay, but if we can't even get through the fact that Israel is turning back trucks that need to go in, what if I showed you stuff, for instance, that trucks have been approved, but they're just sitting on the other side, and it seems like they can't drive them out to where they need to go to?
You haven't shown me anything yet. So also...
Okay, wait, here's a tweet. Here, open this and read this.
Okay. Twitter? You're going to quote Twitter?
Twitter is not a person.
Right, you're going to quote someone on Twitter? That's the source?
When you link me a CNN article, are you quoting CNN?
I'm quoting a CNN article, and
no,
also
you're not. No, you're quoting the person in the article.
Also the people they interviewed. Sometimes they do their own inspections, but okay.
No,
fine.
CNN never does their own inspections. It's CNN. They're not inspecting trucks. That's
not what I'm saying, dude. Not inspecting trucks, but they do. For example, with the drone footage, they did their own assessment of it, or maybe it was Washington Post. But yeah, so sometimes they do their own analysis and stuff like that. Yeah, obviously they're not going through trucks. The aid has to millions waiting for UNRWA and other UN orgs to distribute. This is equivalent of hundreds of aid trucks which will be distributed to Gaza, and we remain committed to the transfer of aid in Gaza. This doesn't really show me anything at all. I don't really.
Who is the source? Scroll up.
The aid has been cumulatively waiting for UNRWA. The UNRWA is not the source.
What is the Twitter account? Who's
COGAD? Coordination of Government Charities through Samaria towards Gaza. I've never heard of these guys. I would need to see if they're legitimate or not.
On the Israeli side, I believe this is who manages what goes into and comes out of the Gaza Strip. These are the guys that report on and discuss like what's happening in terms of like pileups and everything.
This is an Israeli source?
Yes.
Okay, then yeah. I'm not going to take it with much credence.
Okay, click this. Are the pictures fake?
You can't really see shit in the picture. We don't know why they're not getting in. We could be that Israel's blocking them. We always see pictures of trucks.
No. They're already inside. They just haven't been distributed once they're inside. Yeah, because there's a huge issue with distribution within the Gaza Strip for reasons that part of your articles have already said, that the condition inside is very chaotic. Have you seen videos of some trucks going to Palestinians and them getting attacked when they get to certain areas?
Yeah, I will clarify for the 5th time. I never said that it's 100% Israel's fault. So if we look at this image, it's kind of confusing what the fuck we're looking at. It's super blurry, but this is not showing us that, for example, that all these trucks are that these trucks are choosing not to travel or anything like that. This is just showing us that there's some trucks. So I can barely fucking tell what this is, but this doesn't prove anything. And also the fact that it's a pro-Israeli source or Israeli source is just not something I'm gonna take too seriously. But if we don't mind, let me get to the I guess the other stuff that you said. So you were talking about, like what's the motive, blah blah blah. So why does the U.S. have to airdrop aid and build a dock if there's not legitimate? Like, why would if Israel was allowing the aid to get in? Why would America, if they felt not enough aid was getting in, just basically send more aid? Why would they have to start airdropping and going around Israel's border to get the aid in?
Because the issue is aid has trouble getting to certain areas, and they're having a problem distributing aid within Gaza. Airdrops are both of those problems, solve both of those problems, theoretically.
Well, airdrops also kill innocent people sometimes.
If you stand underneath it, it does, yeah.
Well, yeah. Do you think the people are just walking around? They're like, oh, here's it coming. I'm gonna hit right under it. But anyway.
Okay, I'm sorry. Hold on, wait. So don't airdrop food? What, I don't understand what the counter is there. Some people die because they drink too much water and they run out of electrolytes in their body. So do we not give anybody water? I don't. Yes. Sometimes there are mistakes with the airdrop. Sometimes the parachute doesn't deploy. Sometimes people get crushed. It's tragic. People have died in the convoys. We saw that happen where a convoy got fucking surrounded by a ton of people and people started getting shot around the convoy. What do you want to say? Yeah.
Airdropping aid, like from what the calculations I've seen, will provide maybe 1% of necessarily food. It's not sustainable. It doesn't provide enough, even assuming no one's getting killed. So what the solution is for the U.S. to actually force Israel to allow all the aid in. So we saw this happen with Reagan. We saw this happen with George Herbert Walker Sr. So with Reagan, for example, there's a classic example when Israel was starting to carpet bomb Lebanon, and he said, "Hey, we're going to stop giving you aid, stop giving you supplies if you stop doing this," and they stopped doing it. So exerting a little pressure on them would be the way around this problem. Because why do we have to? They're our ally. Why do we have to go around them to get aid into Gaza? Like, wouldn't it just make more sense to just force them or at least pressure them into allowing all the trucks in, all the aid in?
It's not just letting them in. It's also letting them in and escorting them. Getting trucks into North Gaza is apparently incredibly difficult. We've seen that footage of the one convoy that went in that some people call the Flower Massacre, where it was a huge fucking shit show driving aid to northern Gaza.
Yeah, so we'll get to the Flower Massacre, I promise. So this is the argument that I've heard is Hamas is stealing all the aid. Is that the argument you're trying to make?
I mean, I've heard there's a problem with redirection from it, but my understanding is that the biggest issue is distribution of the material once it's inside the Gaza Strip. That's the challenging part.
How so?
That just because you've got stuff inside the Gaza Strip doesn't mean that you're able to easily distribute it to the people that need it.
Well, yeah, because the people are so starving, they're starving to death. So if you get more aid in, there's gonna be less and less of like swarming the trucks.
No, because it's hard to drive through a war zone where there are multiple communities that are fighting at any given point in time, and it's hard to identify accurately where the aid needs to go, how safe it is, and how you can distribute it once you're at that site. It's not just starving people swarming trucks like zombies.
So do you think Hamas is blocking most of the aid? Sorry, stealing all the aid.
I'm sure Hamas is stealing some aid, but I don't think that's a major contributor to the issue right now. I feel like you got a talking point loaded really right the fuck up. If you want to talk about why it's not Hamas, then go for it. But I don't think, if I had to guess in terms of an overall percentage of like Hamas stealing the aid versus aid that's not being delivered, my guess is less than like 2 or 3% of aid being stolen.
Then we completely agree. No, it's documented. There's been incidents of Hamas stealing the aid, right? I just wasn't sure what side that you were on. But yeah, they're stealing 2, 3, 5, whatever. Even say, each person say 10% of the aid. But then the majority of the issue is not Hamas. The majority of the issue is not enough trucks and not enough aid specifically getting in.
No, I think the issue is the war. There are enough trucks, there are enough people on the other side of the border, but they can't get to where they need to go.
But then why is it that when Israel has had wars with Palestinians in the past, they never cut off electricity or never cut off water? This one is kind of unique where they decided to cut everything off.
Everything hasn't been cut off. I think they did that for like 2 days.
No. Even if we look at now, the vast majority, let me actually get the exact source. So yeah, they allow, wait, let me pull this up. They allow, there's no water that's allowed into the north, and there's a trickle of water that's allowed in the south, but it's not enough and people have to drink from the sea. Like, I don't think people would drink from the sea if they didn't fucking need to.
Wait, I don't think they can drink, you can't drink that water, it's salt water.
Yeah, and that's why it fucks them up.
No, like, okay.
So let's get into like intent, right? So I'll just throw out some, I guess, statements and quote. So we're talking about intents now. So Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, and I'll preface this by saying you did do a good video where you, I think I saw part of it where you deconstructed some of the quotes being used in, I guess, being used to decept the picture or to kind of obfuscate from the situation. And that's all well and good. I'm not saying that every single quote from Israeli leadership that everyone has read is valid. But here are ones that I don't know how you were going to defend these. So October 9th, Defense Minister Gallant said, "We are imposing complete siege on Gaza. No electricity, no food, no water, no fuel. Everything is closed. We are fighting human animals and must act accordingly. The United Nations warned that a siege endangering civil lives by depriving them of essential goods was prohibited under international law." Well, too late for that. Then we have National Secretary Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir, our favorite boy. In a tweet on October 17, so long as Hamas does not release the hostages, the only thing that should enter Gaza is hundreds of tons of Air Force explosive, now an ounce of humanitarian aid. Here's the biggest one. Netanyahu himself, the big baller, said that until all the hostages are returned, we will not allow humanitarian assistance in the form of food and medicines from our territory to the Gaza Strip. Even Biden himself has come out and said Israel is doing indiscriminate bombing. So I don't know, you can dismiss maybe from people in this cabinet. It's hard to dismiss Netanyahu himself, who's probably the most powerful man in Israel. So there we have pretty clear intent right there.
What is the argument here that I'm agreeing or disagreeing with?
Well, we're talking about intent. You asked me before, okay, but how do you prove that Israel is
intent of what?
Intent of deliberately blocking humanitarian aid.
Okay, but most of the quotes here, like blocking all the water and everything, ended up not coming true. They rolled back all of this in like 2 days to where they did let water in, they did let humanitarian aid in, they did let stuff in. So it feels like all of these...
That's not true. The vast majority, first of all...
Wait, what did I just say that's not true?
The vast majority of water is still not getting in. Well, the vast majority of clean drinking water is still blocked.
Okay. You haven't demonstrated that in a single article or in a single source. So if that is true, I haven't seen it yet.
I can pull up a source, sure. I still feel like you should have to pull up some sources, but okay, You're
the one making the argument, the assertion.
You're the one.
I thought that is. My understanding is that siege lasted for like a week and a half. I think there was like the big siege initially, and then afterwards, basically they did the aid process. My understanding is right now, to repeat, that there's a bunch of trucks that are in Gaza, but they just can't drive them to where they need to go. But it's not Israel blocking them; it's a war. They don't know how to get them to where they need to go.
Yeah. Okay. So let me pull up a source for that.
Wait, before we do this, okay, specifically, what source are you, or what is the source that you're pulling up? What are you purporting it's going to support? Because I feel like every source you've pulled up has been talking about a totally different statement.
No, not at all. You just keep like obfuscating by pulling up.
Okay, I'm obfuscating. Then let's be very clear now. What the source that you're looking for right now? What do you hope that it's going to prove?
That what you're saying about is this lasting for 2 days is not true. That essentially that there's it first of all lasted way longer, this total siege, and second of all, in terms of things like clean drinking water, that's still largely a problem. It's certainly a problem in North
largely
Gaza.
A problem. It was largely a problem pre-October 7th. What's changed? What is the claim that you're?
It's gone because before that, Israel did not cut off electricity, or fuel, which is needed to process to desalinate.
Before that, there were restrictions on fuel and electricity. Yes, of course there were.
Again, we're talking about scales. Just because there's a little bit of fucked up shit in the past doesn't mean that we're not at a whole new level here. The point I'm making is that the majority of the water is still being blocked.
Majority of the water is being blocked. Okay, so is the argument that the majority of the water going in is being blocked?
The majority of the water that is necessary that was going in pre-October 7th is now not being allowed in.
Okay.
Yeah, if you give me a second, I will pull this up. So you want to know a source for this claim?
I'm just curious what your source is going to purport.
Exactly what I'm saying, but sure. Yeah, I think this is it. Okay, I think this is it. So let me pull this up. So we can skip the title. After more than a month of Israel's government unlawful
Wait,
blockade-
can you link me real quick?
Sure.
Thank you. Also, I have to leave in like 5 minutes because it's late for me.
Oh fuck, dude! I didn't even get a chance to like some of my most important arguments.
Okay, I'll give you 10 minutes. Okay.
That's
Also,
not
we can
gonna
do
be
we can do it again tomorrow too. I'm here tomorrow.
Yeah, let's do a part 2. I have so much other shit that I want to get through. I was saving the good stuff for the end.
Okay.
I was gonna make you watch videos of like Palestinians being killed and just kind of shame.
Yeah, but my counter to every single one of those videos is you have to prove to me that Israel didn't have a reason to believe or suspect that these people were involved in military operations.
Yeah, we'll get to that tomorrow. Okay, Israel authorities. Well, I'm gonna skip past the title. So after more than a month of Israel government unlawful blockade of Gaza, which include catastrophic cuts to water, fuel, and electricity. So it wasn't 2 days. It seemed like it was a month. The lack of clean water resulting in grave concerns by public health experts and main infectious disease and outbreak, including waterborne illnesses like blah, blah. On November 19th, the UN Relief Works Agency for Palestinian refugees in Gaza said every little girl, boy, and man in UNRWA asked me for bread and water. Okay, take that with whatever. October 7th, the Israeli government shut off pipes and supplied Gaza with water. It has since only resumed piping water to some parts of southern Gaza, while some water has entered via Egypt, but it's not reaching everyone. It's not nearly enough to meet the needs of the Gaza population, requiring more to rely on local water.
Okay, wait.
Supply.
So right here,
92% of the water supply is unfit for human consumption.
Yep, that's the same number that's been reported for a decade. So right here, this sentence right here. After October 7th, the Israeli government shut off the pipes that supply Gaza with water. It has since only resumed piping water to some parts of southern Gaza, while some water is entered via Egypt, but it's not reaching everyone. Okay. The fact that they resumed piping in water contradicts the statements earlier that they were going to stop it forever. We're going to turn it all off and never turn it back on. We're going to fight the entirety of the war. We're going to do this. Already contradicts those statements. That's all I was looking for.
Not necessarily. So if I say,
what do you mean? Wait. Reread the statements again. Reread the statements again.
No, I understand what you're trying to say. So if I say, hey, I'm gonna Destiny fuck me over, and I'm gonna go and murder his whole family, and then I just go and murder your mom and dad, right? I leave your cousins and your children alone. That still doesn't change anything, right? Like you don't have to go 100% all in on a crime for you to be guilty of a crime. Just because they didn't cut
We're
it
not
off
talking about
100%. Just because they didn't cut it off for 100% of people doesn't mean they didn't cut it off for a large portion of people.
If some guy beats me up and I say, I'm going to murder your whole family, and then I go to that dude's house and I just kill him, and then I leave, then I clearly didn't mean I was going to kill his whole family.
Yes, but if you kill him and also his mom and also his cousin, then we get a different picture. But you don't kill his whole family. You left 6 or 7 people alone. Even that would be, you left one person alone. That would be more
the initial. Okay, so then, okay, so we're going to reform your initial point. Your initial point then is it wasn't that, look, they're expressing this like intent to destroy the whole population, or they're not going to turn it back on, or blah, blah, blah. The intent was they're just going to control it more than they had before, or what is the initial statement?
Control is a very, very loose way of paraphrasing that. My statement, I was showing you here. Here's what the Benjamin Netanyahu, or what the top leadership is saying. And then, yes, their actions aren't 100%. So they made a very extreme statement, and they maybe carried out 80% of what they said they were going to do. That's still pretty extreme. If you're blocking water to 80, 90% of the population, 60% of the water, that's still collective punishment.
What were the initial statements for the quotes that you read?
They're on the screen. What do you want me to read?
No, the quotes, you said that you'd read quotes, not these ones. You said that you read quotes proving the intent of these people.
Yeah, so okay, so here's one. Netanyahu, this is probably the biggest one. Netanyahu said that until all the hostages are returned, we will not allow humanitarian assistance in the form of food and medication from terror to Gaza Strip. Now, he has allowed some in, right, but most of it has not been allowed.
Okay, wait. So that statement that he said, that's not true then. He said until every hostage was returned, we're going to lock everything down. But that's not true. That didn't happen, right?
He made a very definitive statement that he only 80% followed through on.
80% followed through after 1 month letting in aid? Was 80% following through, never letting anything in until all the hostages were released?
Well, if most of the people, if most people in Gaza are not getting water, if only a small trickle is allowed in, then yeah, we can 70%, 80%, 90%. But the majority of the statement is still true.
What do you mean when you say most people in Gaza aren't getting water? What does that mean?
Okay, like just to give you an analogy, if Trump said like,
no, wait, I don't need an analogy. I just want to know, when you say most people aren't getting water, what does that mean to you? What do you mean when you say that?
Most people are not getting the necessary drinking water.
So, Are they like thirsting to death, or they're just not getting as much as like the daily recommended amount, or?
Yeah, like a lot of them are thirsty, which is why they're drinking from the sea.
I don't think you can
from the
drink.
sea-
I don't think you can drink from the sea. I'm pretty sure you would die doing it. I don't even know
Well,
if you can.
that's what they're doing. You want to see videos of that? Because I've seen. Plenty.
Oh, well, no. Show me numbers then. How many people have died due to drinking seawater?
I don't have the number on hand.
Can I Google that? Well, let's look it up. Deaths to seawater consumption, Gaza Strip.
Also, at least 12 wells in the area have been destroyed, so that's another thing.
I see a headline that says, "Fears grow. People are dehydrating to death in Gaza as clean water runs out."
Okay.
This article is from October 17th. So where are my dehydration deaths since then? I didn't
don't
find
know.
anything. Let's try
This is
this.
an
Let's
article-
see.
this is an article
Dehydration
that you
deaths,
put up.
Gaza Strip. Let's search. Death rate of elderly people. We've got a Gazan Health Ministry number that says 25 people have died from malnutrition or dehydration.
What's the date?
I'm assuming this is recent,
Well,
Let me
why
check.
are you assuming that? Check the date.
because I Googled for news and typically it shows recent articles for news.
Not always.
October 3rd, 2020. Oh, this is March 10th. So recent, past 2 weeks.
And this is what's the source website for this?
Okay, hold on. When you ask for sources, the source is not the website, it's who the website is quoting. The website here is just www.aa, but the source is the Gaza Health Ministry. That's what they're reporting about.
Say that again. What's the website?
I linked it to you. It's in the thing.
Okay, let me take a look.
Do you understand how strange it is that if on October 17th, there was fear of people dehydrating to death, and 5 months later, that number is 25. Something isn't adding up here. Something's not working. Something doesn't make sense about the reporting of what's going on here.
Well, I need to deep dive into the source, but no, I mean, first of all, sometimes it's hard to account for, hey, how exactly did this person die? I don't think they're doing very detailed autopsies right now in Gaza.
You don't think if people were dying from starvation, they wouldn't be able to tell? Maybe this emaciated person just like...
Well, it seems like most people, like this would only include people who are going to hospitals. I would assume the majority of people are just quietly dying in their houses.
Why would you assume that? This is part of the most highly densely populated regions in the world. These people are... You think they're just dying and no one's noticing?
Have been shut down.
Okay. Then how are they accounting for any death figures at all then? You just don't trust any of them?
No, I'm just giving you an explanation for the discrepancy they're pulling up. I've never heard of this source. Let me just...
What do you mean heard of the source? It's citing the Gaza Health Ministry. Google
Yeah, but
Gaza
I
Health
don't-
Ministry death number. The website itself doesn't matter. It could be Fox
Well,
News,
I
it could be
would-
CNN, it could be...
Right, but I would need to believe that... Wait, is this Alcoholics Anonymous?
I have no idea.
I don't know. I need to look into the source because I've never heard of it. Like if you pull up CNN or whatever, or Washington Post, I'll be like, okay, yeah, they're probably not going to lie. I don't know if this source is lying or not.
You think that this site would just like completely misquote and list the source of the...
Well, you said earlier that all these human rights organizations like Amnesty International are also misquoting and...
No, I've never in my life said they're misquoting. In fact, my main argument was that they were just quoting, not misquoting. They would just quote a random doctor and say, oh, this must be happening. Not that they're misquoting. I don't think any of these third-party orgs are completely fabricating quotes or lying about things. Apparently, this website is called Anadolu Anhasi. There you go.
I think this is another Jewish Israel site.
Why do we even think that?
Because the name seems like it's like that. I mean, I would have to, and I'll lose you. Okay, Gaza, location. Okay, let me see. But that's kind of the feeling I get.
This is a state-run news agency from Turkey.
From Turkey. Okay.
Wait, so we trust it because it's from Turkey?
No, we trust it more because it's from outside of either Gaza or Israel.
Why would you trust? A media organization ran basically by Erdogan? Why would you trust it? Wait, so would you trust information about what's going on there coming more out of like Saudi Arabia or Iran than you would from Israel or from Gaza?
No, not necessarily. The point is that I wouldn't trust when it comes to this war where Israel has every incentive to lie, an Israeli organization saying that. Just like I wouldn't trust a Hamas-run organization.
Just because you have an incentive to lie doesn't mean you are lying. You would check and see like what else is going on because they also have incentives not to lie. For instance, they have democratic elections, and if their leaders get caught lying, they could pay heavy consequences in an election because of that.
Oh my God, this is such a naive view of the world. So many of our politicians, their politicians, have already been called lying multiple times. How many lies has Trump been caught in? Millions and millions.
And he lost an election.
Well, he's
not the leader anymore. How many times has Erdogan lied? How long has he been a leader? How long do you think the average Egyptian dictator is a leader? Saudi Arabia and all these other countries literally have monarchy families that do lineage through family name. Why are you comparing these two things?
I'm not defending them, but the point is that, first of all, Trump is likely to win the next election, it seems like. So, so him lying over and over again didn't really seem to take a big toll on his political career. You see also...
Trump is facing 91 criminal indictments. How many indictments does a dictator that currently rules a country face?
Are you trying to create the argument that I think that dictatorships in the Middle East are better than America? No, not at all. I'm just
not better. I'm saying that you seem to be thinking that like, oh, all politicians lie just as much as dictators might lie. That's not true. A democratically elected politician has...
No, I'm sure dictators lie more. But the point I'm making is just because it's a Western country doesn't mean their leadership isn't going to lie. Doesn't mean that people who are very emotionally involved in this conflict aren't going to lie.
I didn't say it means that they're not going to lie. I'm saying that the incentive structure...
third-party sources.
Okay.
You kind of do the exasperated side, but it seems like you agree.
Because when you say third-party sources, I don't think you understand what a source means. CNN is not a source. Fox News is not a source. This website is not a source. The source, your primary source here, the Gaza Health Ministry.
Right.
Your secondary sources or your tertiary sources are just people that are reporting or compiling information about it.
I understand, but we have to trust the fact that this website is reporting on the information accurately, and they're not lying or distorting the picture.
I don't have to trust it at all. I can literally just Google what the Gaza Health Ministry says and probably find 15 other things to find out if it's true or not. Okay, so hold on. So you just said, okay, hold on. Opening this. Open in new window. Okay, the headline is dehydration at Gaza hospital surges to 25. Okay, this is on March 25. Okay, and this is according to the Ministry of Health in Gaza said Saturday. So what I could do is I could Google Ministry of Health Gaza 25 dead. Let's see. We've got another Egyptian source that says 25 children died of malnutrition in Gaza, quoting the Palestinian Health Ministry. We've got a New York Times article that's 5 months old.
So yeah, I think actually I was doing some.
We've got Al Jazeera sourcing saying that children are dying in Gaza. This says 6. This is a couple weeks ago. Also sourcing the Gazan Health Ministry.
Yeah. So the death toll from dehydration has risen to 25. So that's 25 people who are dead from lack of water.
We were arguing over the validity of the sourcing. Okay, give me one more talking point. I gotta bounce. I gotta go eat.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, look, when we do this, write down your objection to what I've said so far. Let me write it down, and then I will, when we do a part 2, I'll give you direct sources and everything for that. So just run.
Okay, but when I do my research on this, I'm reading the underlying material. It's not just going to be a quote from a guy.
Yeah, me
it's
too.
going to be like, okay, we're going to read the underlying material, and we're going to see like how is it, and also a quote from like, well, this UN senator from fucking Holland, from the fucking Netherlands, said this. I don't care about that. That's not a thing I care about.
A U.S. senator.
I don't care about a U.S. senator saying it. I don't care. I want primary source. Yes! The U.S. senator is not a truck driver. He's not working and doing first-hand reporting.
A U.S. senator who's on the ground, that is a primary source if he's...
I don't know if he knows what the fuck is going on the ground. There's a reason why I wouldn't go on the ground and go, oh, looks like these people aren't getting food. I would probably ask somebody there that's in charge of distribution,
Well,
that's in
seems like
charge
that's
of...
what, exactly. If you read the rest of that article, and those two senators who went from being largely pro-Israel to being much more pro-Palestine, is they did do a lot of interviews with a lot of people in charge of the programs. They interviewed everybody: Israelis, Palestinians. They did Jordan, blah blah blah, and that's the conclusion they came to. So yeah, if they witnessed this firsthand, or they interview people who are in charge of the program, they are a primary source, or at least in some cases, a secondary source. But why would we, like, if, for example, I murder my girlfriend and my friend witnesses it, would we then say, oh, well, like, why does his opinion matter? No, he's a primary source if he witnessed it.
Okay.
So let me just write down what exactly.
Hold on, I'm sorry, I have to explain. To be clear, primary source usually assumes some level of firsthand knowledge combined with some amount of expertise on the situation. That's typically what a firsthand source means. So for instance, if I go down to the local nuclear power plant and I look at it and I go, power plant looks like it's not running very well right now, you wouldn't say that Stephen Bonnell is a primary source reporting on the power plant. He saw it with his own two eyes, because I don't know fuck all about power plants. When I'm looking at these quotes from January, U.S. Senators Chris Van Hollen and Jeff Merkley saw maternity kits and water filtration systems among the items Israel turned back from its inspection point in Nitzana. Among the items, does that mean these were just in trucks with a whole bunch of other stuff being sent back? Were these rejected specifically? What a real reporter would do is a real reporter go, okay, well, these things were being sent back. Well, let's go up and talk to the IDF and see if they'll give a statement on it. Let's get a statement from the people running the inspection points and find out why they are saying that it's being sent back. Here's a question. You're saying there's maternity kits and water filtration systems being sent back. Primary sources, 2 U.S. senators are saying this. Why do you think they're being turned back?
Why do I personally think they're being turned back?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think Israel's goal is to collectively punish the people of Gaza.
Okay. So your position is that Israel is at the checkpoint. Some of them are just like, yeah, fuck this. We can probably turn this truck back with no consequences. Fuck them. Turn them back. Fuck these guys.
Essentially. Yeah, I mean, that point would be buttressed by the fact, for example, you see a lot of the Israeli protesters basically blocking the roads, and Israeli police and military does absolutely nothing about it. When you see a pro-Palestine protest in Tel Aviv, the Israeli police is very, very quick to deal with that and disperse of that. So, yeah, like that to me suggests a complete lack, at the very best, complete apathy. It's just like, whatever. These people are giving us, whatever. They're blocking the aid. Fuck them. Whatever. Here's what it is. We can't do anything about it.
Even though you have no idea why these trucks were turned back, there's no comment from the IDF whatsoever. You have no evidence or proof whatsoever.
Well, the IDF doesn't comment on a lot of things.
What do you mean? The IDF puts out tons of statements. It comments on a ton of things.
No,
what do you mean?
Quite often when they're challenged, like if we go to the Flower Massacre, they released 3 false reports.
Wait, hold on. Wait. Firstly, that entire Twitter account that I gave you, that Kogat, is a part of the IDF. So everything on there counts as an IDF statement. Everything about that relating to humanitarian distribution. But go ahead for the flower event.
Well, I mean, I think that's gonna, if you got to go, that will take us quite a while to get through, at least 15, 20 minutes. The point I'm making is we're talking about like, oh, well, they don't always answer. So first of all, we typically care more about, especially when it comes to intent, like the Israeli leadership, not so much the soldier on the ground when it comes to intent. Because in every war, there's going to be some bad apples who do some fucked up shit. But yeah, I mean, I think that in terms of saying like, okay, well, are they really Are they really answering questions? Well, in the Flower Massacre, again, not to deep dive too into that, but essentially when they got pushed on their story of the fact that the drone footage that they sent over was heavily edited and didn't include any audio, and then new video footage came out showing kind of that what they said was false, and they were pressed on that, like, hey, why did you send us this? They were like, we have no further comments. So they do have a history of not commenting on things that make them look bad.
When you say heavily edited, my understanding is it was just 2 different pieces of footage that were spliced together for one video on Twitter.
According to the New York Times and the BBC, they both said it was heavily edited.
Can you show me one of those links, and then that'll be our thing for today?
You really want to get into the Flower Massacre? Because this is going to take 20, 30 minutes.
No, I'm just curious on that it was heavily edited. When you say heavily edited, the implication being misleadingly edited, heavily edited. Yeah, I'm curious.
Sure. Give me 1 second. Okay. New York Times.
Also, just so I have it in my brain, what is your narrative of what happened at the Flower Massacre? What do you think happened?
What I think is more, I don't have a definitive answer for you, but what I think is most likely to happen is that Israel just opened fire on a bunch of hungry Gazan civilians, whether it was because they were that was their intention the whole time, or because maybe one of them felt threatened and started a chain reaction, or maybe there was a bad apple there. I don't really know, but yeah, in terms of what actually happened, they opened fire on a bunch of Gazan civilians, and they lied about it over and over again, and then they got caught.
Okay.
And with that one, I can run you through exact like timelines and everything like that. All right. So you asked me for the proof that it was heavily edited. So give me a second. I'll find that.
When we say heavily edited, the implication is done deceptively.
Yeah. I think that's most likely conclusion. Massacre. Okay, I think this is it. So yeah, so this is a pretty good. It doesn't. This article specifically doesn't say heavily, but I've seen other articles say that. But it essentially will outline that. Okay, here it is. The Israeli military claimed that the drone video it released showed a mass stampede in which Gazans were trampled, but the quality and the length of the clips makes it difficult to confirm these claims, adding confusion and sequence led by deaths. The video, which does not include audio, was edited by Israeli military with multiple clips spliced together, leaving out key moments before many in the crowd began running away from the trucks, with some people crawling behind walls, appearing to take cover. After cutting the drone video, at least a dozen bodies are visible on the ground at the scene. It's not clear where these people injured or dead. A small number of people may have been struck by 8 trucks in panic to also stop visible scene. A separate video released by Al Jazeera of the crowd near the 8 convoys captured the sounds of gunfire and multiple tracer rounds, which essentially is like marking, originating from southwest where an Israeli military base is located. The Israeli military has acknowledged that soldiers opened fire, saying it was only in face of danger of Mahmoud. So that's when they changed their story. And then we have, and then also the second part of this is wounded and killed Palestinians.
Wait. Where is it changing its story?
I mean, I don't know if this article I can sum it up for you. But essentially, first, here's what happened. So first, Israel claimed that the people were killed as a result of the pushing, trampling, and being run over by trucks. Then one drone video they used to support this was analyzed by BBC and New York Times and found to be heavily edited. Now, I can give you the quote.
Hold on. When you say found to be heavily edited, did you watch the video footage?
Yes.
Isn't it like, it's obviously like different things that are spliced together? I don't think they tried to hide it. It's not like they were.
Well, yeah, because key moments are left out of what happened before, and they also removed the audio. And also, when they were challenged by the New York Times saying like, hey, can you provide the audio? They refused to provide the original footage. So that seems a little sus. Then
Wait, audio?
Yeah, audio.
Do drones record audio?
For this one, apparently, well, actually, for this one, there was original footage. So I don't know if there was.
What do you mean original footage? The drones don't work. There's no drone footage with audio. That doesn't make sense.
Okay, so yeah, okay, fine. I'll even grant you that because I'm not sure if this drone was recording audio, but they refused to provide original footage. That's the most important part here.
Why should they? Well, first of all, whether they should provide or have to provide original footage, I don't even know why there would be an onus on them to do so. Number one.
Well, because if like I'm accusing you, you're accusing me of like some incident that happened, and then let's say you prove like let's say you and I went out together and you claim that I was harassing girls or something like that. And then you take little videos from the night and slice and dice them and edit them and show that. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think this is real. I think that's not what happened at all. Can Destiny provide the original footage? And you're like, no, I'm not going to provide that. That seems pretty sus. Like, if you have nothing to hide, why not provide the original footage?
Because people like you are going to pick it apart and try to make up stories out of nothing. The entire idea of criminal justice is you don't have to provide footage just because you have nothing to hide. If somebody has to bring a probable claim to compel you to provide the footage.
This is not a trial. This is
What do you mean is that a trial? Of course it's a trial. Yeah, of course.
It's not a criminal trial. Why would Israel then provide any evidence at all?
To show that what they're saying isn't completely baseless?
Right, but if it's heavily edited, that's going to also only work against them. Why not, if they're asked by the newspapers, hey, you guys sent us this, it's heavily edited, can you provide the original footage? If they have nothing to hide, why would they not do that? It seems like such a no-brainer.
Okay, maybe. All right.
Do you disagree with that basic premise?
I don't disagree with that. If I was Israel, I wouldn't fucking release anything, because every single thing that gets released, people like you are going to say, well, you can't trust anything by Israel. It's Israel, so it's all lies anyways. Or if you see any person get killed ever, you're going to say, oh, well, they killed him because they just wanted to murder hungry people, I guess, is your running narrative that you think of this. Like, that was an insane position, by the way.
I don't know why you're putting me in this like hardcore anti-Israel category. I'm
not putting you in an anti-Israel category. I asked you what you thought was likely to happen. You said that you feel like a bunch of Israeli soldiers went and lured a bunch of hungry people out and just started shooting them because they wanted to kill them all. No, that's an insane.
I said that's one potential explanation. Is that they?
I asked you what you thought happened, and you said that was the one you were leaning towards.
No, I gave you multiple explanations. Another one is one soldier accidentally misfired, and other soldiers played it wrong. It could be any amount of things. I don't know what exactly their motive was because I wasn't there, and I'm not in the minds of these soldiers. It's really hard for anyone to prove what the soldier's motive is at that point. What I do know that happened is they opened fire on a whole bunch of people, killing over 100, injuring about 700. Then they lied about it over and over again.
Wait, how many? What is the confirmed death toll for this event?
Yeah, I'll tell you. It's about, I believe, 112 civilians killed, 790 injured.
Who's reporting that?
I don't know. I have to deep dive into that. I'm not sure who's reporting that.
Well, who do you think would report it? If this is in North Gaza, where not many people have access to it.
Dude, I would have to, I didn't write down the source for every single thing. That I know that I used pretty reliable sources for all this. I didn't use typically Al Jazeera or Palestinian shit.
Who could even possibly report this number besides the Gazan Health Ministry?
People who were on the ground, people working in the hospitals who saw the dead bodies.
I thought you said all the hospitals were shut down in North Gaza.
This is in South Gaza.
Wait, am I retarded? Where is... Hold on.
I believe so. Also, the point is that Israel...
Wait, no, hold on. No, okay. I'm just to make sure. Okay. The whole reason why this was so fucked is because getting aid to North Gaza is so fucking difficult. And this was a convoy that was sending aid to North Gaza. That was part of the reason why this is such an exceptional thing, is because it was North Gaza.
So you're saying this happened in North Gaza?
Yeah, of course, yeah. That was part of the big reason about this particular convoy, yeah.
Flower massacre location. This is what I read, is that it was near the border of the South. Can you link me where you found that it was in North Gaza?
Listen, I believe in you. You can find it. I have to go, though. I got to leave. It's 11 o'clock. I'm 2 hours late. Okay? Listen.
With all due respect, whenever I ask you for a source, you're like, yeah, man, next time.
You can literally just Google flower massacre, probably look at the Wikipedia, and it's going to come up on literally the first picture on the thing.
So if you found it, why don't you just tell me?
I just did. I told you it was in North Gaza. I said that it was a big deal because this convoy. That's why when you...
Where did you read that? Wikipedia? Where?
And it's on Wikipedia, but it's on every single news article ever. The whole reason for this convoy, the reason why it was such a deep into their convoy, and the reason why the starving people, surrounding and everything, is because of how dire the situation is in North Gaza. Every part of this story is important because it's about North Gaza. Like, if this was happening at one of the crossings, it wouldn't make any sense. But this is like a big story relating to the North Gazan stuff.
Okay, let's actually take a look at the photo of where it happened. Yeah, this seems right here. It seems like it is actually South Gaza from what I'm seeing. Jordan official 3 hospital training. The man has been arrested massacre. Details on invasion. I'm seeing South Gaza here, honestly. Location within.
Link me where you see South Gaza.
I don't know how reliable the source is, but here we have one, which is where apparently it seems like it happened.
Wait, in which part did it happen?
I believe it's either south or central.
Wait, where is it on this map or whatever?
This would be south or central. This might be like central southish. Oh, probably central. Because south would be like right here, so this would be like central.
Okay. Maybe they use different terminology. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I gotta go. I gotta go. I love you because all the restaurants are gonna be closed. I'm gonna be in big trouble. Okay.
Okay, no worries. So you're down to do tomorrow?
Sure. Why not? Yeah. But I have kick or keep from 4 to 7, I think. So it has to be like from or at 2 o'clock. It might have to be Tuesday. Give you lots of time to gather sources. I don't know if I'm streaming tomorrow night after kick or keep, so we'll see.
Okay. Well, you gotta gather some sources too. So far, I've seen that. I don't like this source.
Okay.
All right. I appreciate you coming on, man. Appreciate you.
No problem. It's always fun to argue. Have fun.
For sure. Have a
Bye.
good one, buddy. All right. Oh yeah, there's some. Yeah, so that's why I was saying I didn't have time to actually verify the source and blah blah blah. But actually, I will pull it up. I believe it was Central Gaza. That's why I was like, okay, like you fucking gotta give me some time. But I'll admit that I got that wrong. But that's why I hate pulling shit up on the spot. I just didn't think he was going to dispute that part. Otherwise, I would have had that. But for next one, I'm literally just gonna have a source cited for everything. I had sources cited for all the stuff that would be controversial, but I figured like this stuff, like why does it matter where it took place in Gaza? Like it took place, so I just didn't think of why it's important to write it down where it occurred. But I think the statement is correct. It was Sunshine was Muslim massacre. Okay, Kuwait roundabout. I'm gonna pull this up. Mm-hmm. One second, I want to find the exact area for this. Okay. Yeah, I was correct. So, so it seems like this is where it took place. So this would be north, this would be south. So yeah, somewhere in central Gaza. So I was correct. Not that it's relevant at all to the discussion. North, south, it doesn't really matter, but yeah. It was central Gaza. Go to the BBC Verify. Yeah, that's kind of what I thought from the start. Fun debate though. What do you guys think? Playing with fire matters a lot. I don't really see how it matters, but okay. Didn't even show the whole strip. That's the photo that I pulled up. You're asking me to pull up something on the spot about something that I had no idea was going to be in any way relevant at all. Yes, I understand the map you pulled up. Like I said, I literally prefaced the statement by saying that that I don't know if this is even accurate, but this is like fucking 2 hours and 40 minutes of debate. He had to run, so I didn't get the chance to actually look at it in detail and then blah blah blah. Also, just to point it out, Destiny didn't challenge that at all, so neither one of us actually caught on to that. And yeah, sure, that was a little bit of a, I guess, oversight of my part, but again, just not something that I thought I was going to need to prove where it took place. I've admitted I was wrong. Yeah, I pulled up the wrong map. Oh my God, sue me. To our debates are long. Yeah, we didn't actually get through like even half of the shit I wanted to get through. Well, I thought it was a decent debate. I feel like Destiny, I mean, I love Destiny, but I feel like he really argued sometimes for the sake of arguing. Because I was convinced for a while that his position was that he disagreed with the idea that there's not enough getting in. And he's like, no, it's probably true. He left because he realized, yeah, either that or he was just saying for like 30 minutes that he has to go. Yeah. Anyway, that was a fun debate. I'll answer any questions. I'll stay on for like 10, 15 minutes. Alex, you clearly know nothing about the Jews and the history of Israel. Well, that's not true. I've been to Israel many times. I have family in Israel. If anything, I have a pro-Israel bias. I know a good amount about the history, but the history is not really that relevant to the claim that they're using collective punishment. Israel could be the most victimized, prosecuted country in the planet. That still wouldn't change what we're arguing about. So we're not arguing about what happened before. I agree. There's been acts of terror on both sides, and both sides have been pretty malicious towards each other at times. But that's not really neither here or there. Probably not true that not enough is able to get into every single person. Easy Israel intentionally starting people. Wars usually means some people defraud logistics. Yeah, I mean, you got quotes from Israeli top leadership. You got statements from every third-party organization. Someone said I have mustard in my face. I severely doubt Destiny would actually do that. The history is why they are justifying October 7th. Yeah, I don't prescribe to that argument. I don't think there's any amount of history that would justify October 7th. So, yeah, I would never use that argument. Why don't you trust the idea? Because you've been brainwashed? Okay, very interesting conclusion, I guess. Well, because they have every incentive to lie. So if there's a war going on between two countries, I probably wouldn't trust either one of them when it comes to that war. I would look at third-party sources. Third-party sources will probably take priority over countries that are in the conflict and have every reason to lie. So, yeah, I would always prioritize third-party sources. Also, the IDF has been caught in multiple lies. I wish we could get through that, but we'll do it next time. The people in Gaza are Hamas, elected Hamas, they totally support Hamas. Yes, something like 10% of people who are alive voted for Hamas. Now, it is true that there is broad spread support for Hamas, right? But that doesn't change the fact that there's also collective punishment going on. So even like, for example, let's say we like Trump, and Trump, I don't know, like nukes a country, right? We wouldn't then say, okay, well, it's fair game for the whole world to go after every single Trump voter because, you know, they elected him, right? So, yeah, again, that doesn't really change that much. Every incentive lie. Hello, Jewish guild. I assure you, I have no Jewish guilt. I actually am quite fond of Israel. But yes, when you have a war going on between two countries, right? Both of those countries have incentive to lie. I will make that same claim about Gaza and Gazan health ministry. Both of these, like they're involved in the war. They have incentive to lie. So you have, like, for example, a situation where there's a lawsuit going on and someone is suing me for, I don't know, like fucking stealing $100,000 from them, intellectual property. They have incentive to lie. I have an incentive to lie. So that's why we look at third-party sources. We would look at witnesses, right? We wouldn't look at the claims of someone who's accused in a crime is saying. The third-party sources get sources from Hamas. Sometimes, but they also verify. It seems like a lot of it. You have also a lot of people on the ground. The UN has sent special teams to investigate certain things. So that's people on the ground. You also have the Euromed monitor on the ground. You have doctors being interviewed. So you do have a lot of people on the ground verifying the statistics. Just because they use the database and they verify doesn't mean that it's discounted. So the whole like, oh, you partially rely on the Hamas Health Ministry. Well, yeah, they have a database of people living there. I wouldn't necessarily expect the third-party organizations to have their own database. That wouldn't make any sense. But then you verify what happened. Okay, it says this person is dead. Okay, let's see in the hospital if that's a dead body. And it seems like what they're doing. And things, what's his name? Destiny agree with that. They get all their information from Hamas, all of them. Okay, just ignore everything I said. I never actually cited the Gazan Health Ministry as a source. So Israel will allow third-party sources into Gaza, but not water. They allow some journalists to come in, sure, and they allow some water to come in. The question is it enough? All right, is there anything else before I wrap up? Alex, right here, right now, do you consider them a good source or even one that should be used at all? Yeah, again, I never cited the Gazan Health Ministry. I think when you look at their past numbers on conflicts, when they were investigated, they turned to be not too far off. But yeah, no, I would never use them as a primary source. Not just like I wouldn't use the IDF as a primary source. That's why, again, we defer to third-party organizations like the UN, like Amnesty International, like what's it called, like the World Food Program, right? Who do their own independent verifications. So yeah. Negative. Once again, they use the World Food Program, they use the Euro, they use the investigations that were done. Now, whether those ones are utilizing the Gazan Health Ministry is a different question, but it seems like the difference, even Destiny agreed to this, is they're essentially verifying the numbers they get themselves. So, yeah, I don't really think that changes anything. Do you think Destiny made any good arguments? I don't know. Yeah, there were some. He's a good debater for sure. I feel like we didn't really get into nearly as far as I would have liked to. Who's more bad faith at dodging questions, Destiny or Andrew? Oh, definitely Andrew. Yeah, that's very true. In any other debate, immigration, Ukraine warfare, Destiny would appeal to those third parties to verify and know we should accept them. When it comes to Israel, it's something different. That's true. Which of his arguments were good? Oh, fuck. I'd have to go back and watch this debate. There were some that were decent, I think. Israel is under no obligation to help those trying to wipe it out. Yeah, that's just blatantly false because they're the occupying power. If they're occupying power, they do absolutely 100% have an obligation to help the people that living in Gaza. They do. And there's also international law that says that, hey, you cannot cut off humanitarian aid. So yes, in a war where there's an occupying power, even if Hamas is the worst possible people on the planet, like I think that's relatively true. They're pretty bad. Obviously they've done many terrorist acts and all that. That still doesn't change the fact that Israel's occupying power has a responsibility of protecting Palestinian citizens. Good stream, man. Can't wait for tomorrow. Thanks, man. W stream, man. Thank you. 100% true. By the way, just as a side note, when this whole thing happened, I started exactly where Destiny is, maybe even more to the right of him. So, like I said, I have a pro-Israel bias because I have family who live there. I have 2 cousins in IDF. I've been there a million times. I have no at all association with Gaza or anything like that. I have no family there. I've never been there, blah, blah, blah. So I definitely started on the much more pro-Israel side. But then I just started seeing like evidence after evidence after evidence. So I'll just like really quickly, to end things off on a fun note, play some of the video that is extremely troubling. So here's one. This is the part that I was really wanting to get into, but we just didn't have time. This is pretty graphic, guys, so trigger warning. Okay, let's take a look at this. So we got people wearing a white flag that get murked. Okay, I'll just pull out one more to end off on an interesting note. So this one is like super disgusting, honestly. Okay.
ליאור מחבל? ליאור, בוא נשפר, ניתן פגז. יאללה, פה, חוצה! בואו, ג'וי! תשע, מה קרה שם? באנו, פתחנו את הזיג, כמו שבאנו מישהו קם, הוא התכופף, קם בא לכיווני, עשה לי ככה.
So what he's saying here is this person was waving his hands, surrendering.
14 לדרגה. הוא היחידי? לא, נכון שיש עמוד. הוא עושה לך ככה, לא, עושה לי לא, ככה. אתה רואה אותו?
So this one, they don't have as many subtitles, but essentially they're all congratulating him on shooting a man who surrendered. I don't know. He hid under his bed, so I shot him. It was fantastic. And then they fire additional bullets into this old man's body. I mean, yeah, it's just kind of... Props to you, Alex, for being so open-minded, also willing to challenge Destiny. Missed almost all the debate, but look forward to watching later. Awesome, man. Thank you. This video is provided by Al Jazeera, which is funded by Qatar, which funds Hamas. Okay, is the video false? Is there any evidence that this video isn't true? Just because you don't like the source, we're not going off a quote here. We're going off a video. And this video, I have not seen one shred of evidence that it's faked. All right, I think we flew through enough stuff. Hope you guys enjoyed this. That's one group of soldiers. You could probably find videos like that in any war. Not nearly the quantity that you see in this war. That's the thing. That's kind of what started changing my mind, is that it was just video after video after video. And there's a lot more evidence that I was going to present, but we just don't have time for it. Videos can be doctored. Yes, but I haven't seen any specific evidence, any evidence at all, anyone suggesting this video is doctored. In fact, the IDF said they were going to look into it. So they're not saying even that it's doctored. What would be a solution to the problem, Gaza? It's tough. I think that it'd probably be, it's a good question to end off on. So I think that number one, I think you need to go through the tunnels. I think that going into Rafah is not really going to do much. So you have the Hamas high leadership essentially hiding in Qatar and UAE. So you can nuke all of Gaza, you're still not going to get them. And then you have most of the players, like the mid-level and low-level players, hiding in the tunnels. So you need to clear the tunnels one by one. Bombs have been proven to be relatively ineffective for that. So essentially, I would probably stop dropping bombs. Those don't seem to be too effective at killing Hamas, and do it manually, kind of like the U.S. did in Armadi. Occasional bomb here and there, I guess, is one thing in a rural area, but we kind of cleared out Armadi block by block. So I think that's the way it has to be done. I think you need to also be willing to propose a two-state solution. I think you need to provide humanitarian, allow the humanitarian aid, but most importantly, you have to give the people in Gaza a better alternative. Because the problem is that, like, for every Hamas soldier they kill, they create 10 more, because most of the people who've been killed are civilians, and then they're watching their mom, their daughters, whatever, get killed, and then that's going to make them much more extremist, right? So you really need to provide them a better alternative. You have to show, hey, we're better than Hamas, and we're gonna, we're gonna help you guys achieve a better life. That's kind of what you need to do. Just kind of like mass bombing them and killing a bunch of innocent civilians is just going to create more problems than it serves. So yeah, I mean, it's tough, but something along the lines of that. Oh, I'm sure he'll find a way. But yeah, we'll see. That's what I was going to bring up during this debate. We only got through about 1/3 of the things that I was going to bring up, honestly. Thank you for showing the truth, even if it sucks. For sure. Appreciate you guys. All right, guys. I'm going to call it a night. Appreciate you. Thanks for tuning out. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Totally different than what I usually do, but it was fun.